On a picturesque evening here in Central Illinois, it's time for two powerhouses of the sport to collide. But before all that, Jonathan, we're here in Washington, Illinois. It's going to be a massive showdown today between Washington and Kankakee. It's an awesome setting. Last home game for head coach Daryl Crouch. It's going to be an awesome environment.
Yeah, certainly. And we talked about in Washington season preview, there's so many football teams that go into different eras. Well, Washington is certainly in the Daryl Crouch era. This is the last year of it. This is the last first home opener. Lots of momentum, lots of hype for the Panthers this year. They returned 24 seniors. I think they're the consensus Mid-Illini favorites at the moment. Still got a long season ahead, but expectations are high here in Washington. The stands should be packed. It's going to be a great game against the number 4 team in the state, the Kankakee Kays.
You see all the Mid-Illini championship flags flying behind us? John hit on it. They're the favorite going into this season, but they've got a big opponent tonight, John. Non-conference affair, but a chance for a statement win.
Yeah, certainly, and these two teams have met the last 2 years. Kankakee has won both those games, so Washington is looking for that elusive win against the Kays. It's usually a pretty close game, always one of the best non-conference games in the entire Peoria area. I know a lot of people look forward to when Kankakee and Washington clash. Kankakee is coming off a huge win against 5A number 1 Nazareth Academy, 33-27, so this Kays team is very fast. They're very talented. They're going to give Washington all they can handle tonight.
Now, on the flip side, of course, it's that time for the Washington Panthers. They're just a few weeks out. They've got a huge rivalry matchup next week. Two very competitive teams here in consecutive weeks. What's it really going to take for the Panthers to come out of here confident and able?
Well, last week, I think, that senior leadership for Washington was on display. They were down 27-10 to Caneland on the road, and those seniors and those key players for Washington helped Washington get back into that game and scored a bunch of touchdowns unanswered. They ended up winning that game 33-27. So I'm looking to guys like Kanan McQuarrie and Jace Harlan as well. A couple more seniors for Washington. So I really think those senior leaders have to step up here at home in their last home opener tonight.
Couldn't have said it better myself. We'll be right back with that and more after the opening kickoff.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Good.
And with that, welcome to Washington, Illinois, home to the Washington Panthers. Tonight's Week 2 contest here on WMBD. It's the Washington Panthers hosting the Kankakee Kays. I'm Cody Roskins. Alongside me is Jonathan Michael. And Jonathan, it's a beautiful night for football.
It really is, Cody. I mean, last week we were dealing with sweltering attempts all week long. Players weren't able to practice for most of the week except for 1 hour outside. That has not been the case this week, and tonight is no exception. Let's take a look at tonight's forecast. It's about 77 degrees outside, dew point 59. Wind is, died down. It's a beautiful evening. I don't think weather is going to be much of a factor here tonight, and we like it that way.
Absolutely, and we've got two of the state's best, Kankakee and Washington. As you mentioned, Jonathan, these are two teams really going to get after it this season, and tonight, this is the third time in the last 3 years these two teams have met in the non-conference.
Yeah, certainly, and this is always one of the, like we said in the open, this is one of the premier non-conference matchups. You can almost bank on it almost every year at this point. I'm not sure if these two are on the schedule for next year as well, but Washington Kankakee has won the first 2 meetings. Washington looking for their first one, but this may be the best chance they have so far. They're playing here at home. I think this is probably on paper one of the best Washington teams in the last couple years. Kankakee, always a good team, still has some new pieces, but I think we should see a really great ball game here tonight.
Now let's catch you back up on where we've gotten to this point. The AP poll is out. John, where do these two teams land?
All right. Now Kankakee is at number 4, Washington at number 7. Should be a great matchup. Two of the best 6A teams outside of Chicago, other than obviously East St. Louis. But last week, Washington came at number 8. Kankakee was number 5. So they're both 1-0. Both picked up big wins last week. Bumped them up one spot in the rankings. But I can guarantee you, whoever is going to win this game is going to move up well in the rankings. Not going to say that Miles Osei, the head coach for Kankakee, and Daryl Crouch for Washington are going to care that much about rankings as part of the season, but it's a great indicator of how good both of these teams are.
Now let's get you guys caught back up to how we add action in Week 1. Kankakee very impressive in their Week 1 win over Nazareth, and Washington edged out Caneland in Week 1.
Yeah, it was a great game up in the Chicago area. Kankakee took down the number 1 team in the state in Class 5A in Nazareth. Tony Phillips, 22 rushes for 209 yards, 2 touchdowns. Nazareth came into the game, obviously, as we said, #1 team in the state. So that was a massive win for a Kays team that still is incorporating some new pieces into that big confidence booster for Kankakee. And for Washington, 33-27 win over Caneland. McQuarrie, a big game for the Panthers.
And we'll be right back after a short break. You're listening to WMBD, powered by Clutch Sports Media.
The Fox has become known for some of the best British and American pub fare around. And for you craft beer lovers, we have 25 ever-changing draft handles. Whether it's lagers, IPAs, stouts, or ciders, the Fox has something for everyone. Join us at the Fox Pub in North Peoria.
Family back.
At Bob Grimm Chevrolet in Morton, we're excited about the all-new tracks, and they're selling as fast as they arrive. Just listen to Lee.
I looked everywhere for my 2024 Chevy Trax. I'm from Indiana, and I drove right over to buy it. Such a smooth and simple process.
That's the Bob Grimm way.
Central Illinois, we're going to overtime. After 4 years of preps coverage in Central Illinois, Clutch Sports Media is ready for a new era. CSM Overtime.
What is CSM Overtime? We're going beyond the broadcast to give you in-depth coverage of your teams,
Your stories.
Your stats and standings.
your highlights and action shots.
With your subscription, you'll get to see news and feature stories from all sports, up-to-date stats from around the area, and thoughtful analysis from our team of experts.
As for our broadcast and social media coverage, it's only getting better.
With your support of Clutch Sports Media Overtime, we'll continue to grow our free broadcast coverage with more sports, more games, and more innovation.
And thanks to our partnership with Too Efficient Media, your social media feeds will be filled with Central Illinois' best sights and sounds.
CSM Overtime will also give you access to full galleries from some of the most talented photographers and videographers in our region.
As the new season approaches, it's time for more.
More action.
More stories.
More coverage of all Central Illinois sports. It's Clutch Sports Media Overtime.
As you see the senior sprint from Washington, it's an excellent reminder to sprint on over to your nearest computer and hit up Clutch Sports Media Overtime. Where currently we have a flash sale going on. Use code words CSM Week 2 all together in one combination, and that will get you a discount on today's flash sale. Again, if you're a high school sports fan in the Central Illinois area or across statewide, Jonathan, it's a must-have.
Certainly. I mean, we've been putting out lots of great content, some feature stories from all sorts of different sports, daily roundups of all the action. So you're never really going to miss any beats from any school, any sport. You'll get all the highlights, all the standout players. We're trying to obviously, get some stats, and you're trying to, beef that up a little bit. We're going to try and have as extensive as a stats database as possible. One of the most extensive ones for all Central Illinois high school sports. So really, you want to get on over to CSM Overtime. Again, use code CSM Week 2 in all caps, and you can save 50% off your first month if you choose a monthly plan. So head to see it, clutchsportsil.com/overtime. That sale expires at midnight tonight. So get on over to there now to get that great discount.
Of course, we offer tons of great content without overtime as well, our podcast. But some of the stuff behind the paywall, you mentioned our pick'ems. It was a great week for one of us. You're trailing just behind, 8-2 through week 1 for me, 7-3 for you. It's a ton of fun. It's a must-have, again, if you're a Central Illinois sports fan.
And get photo galleries as well. As one thing we didn't mention, again, like we said in that video, our guys on the sidelines are some of the most talented in the area. So we'll have great video content, maybe some exclusive interviews that are going to be coming, more photo galleries, full ones, more than what you just see on our Instagram and our Twitter.
Absolutely. But, again, just to reset the scene here, John, it is just a beautiful night for football here in Central Illinois. Over to our right, we see the Washington High School student section themed out in, it looks like, Hawaiian and beach attire. And it's kind of fitting with some of the heat we've had the last couple weeks.
Yeah, certainly. And, this is the time to do it. You don't want to have a beach or Hawaiian theme in October in week 9, So, but you said it, Cody, the crowd here in Washington is great. The stands are absolutely packed. I barely see any empty seats in the entire house, which is about what we expected. These Panther fans are really fired up for what should be a special year. It's Darryl Crouch's last season. It's the 100th year of Washington football. Just so much here at stake for Washington, so much to celebrate for this great community and a great football team year in and year out.
We talked to Coach Crouch just before the game and how important it was this last go-around for him, and you could tell that's a guy that's soaking in every minute of it, and it's just a special setting here in Washington. And this is kind of a tone setter because, Jonathan, next week they're jumping into Middle Illini play. This is an excellent appetizer before we get into one of the best conferences for football in the state.
Yeah, certainly, and Washington's got some pretty good games right off the bat for the Middle Illini, some games that will test them. And obviously they have a target on their back. Next week they head to Malone Field at Metamora to take on the Redbirds on the brand new turf over there. That should be a can't-miss game. And then the week after that, they are back here at Babcock Field to host Pekin. So 2 great games coming up for Washington. They have really had a beefed-up schedule.
Now, John, we touched on it a little bit in our open, but who are some of the players that we're looking to watch here tonight for both sides? Ton of playmakers around the field.
Yeah, certainly. So for Kankakee, we're looking at Marquise Easley. And if you don't know the name, folks, you will assume because Easley is the #1 offensive line recruit in the state, consensus across all recruiting services. Plays left tackle for the Kays, and he's got some ties to Peoria as well that we'll get into later. He's committed to Georgia. So the quarterback for Kankakee, Lorenz Walters, he's got some great protection up front, and Washington's linebackers and D-line will be tested trying to penetrate the Kays backfield.
It'll definitely be a duel of contrasting styles tonight. As we take a look for Washington, of course, it's going to be their inside game, having to kind of try and pan stuff out. This is going to have to be a really beat-em-up kind of game for the Panthers.
Yeah, certainly. And, for Washington, we're looking at Kanan McQuarrie to have a big game. He's our player to watch for the Panthers. He's an all-conference selection last year, first team. Rushed for 1,169 yards. Did so in a majority of majorly in about 7 games or so. Wasn't too effective the first 2 weeks. So, obviously, he is one of the premier backs in the Peoria area. He's got to have a great game for Washington and their young quarterback, Tyler Humphrey, to make it close here in this one.
Absolutely could be the case. He will be a factor in just about every part of this Panther offense, defense. We'll see a number of two-way players, and that was really one of the big keys that Coach Darryl Crouch hit on when we talked to him earlier this week. He said that their two-way players are going to have to hold up because this is a Kankakee team with a ton of speed as you see the Washington Panthers take the field.
That's quite the nice inflatable that they're running out of. Brand new again this year. See that 100th year flag? They are fired up right now. I can't imagine what is going through their heads to see number 80, Garrett Cox, waving the American flag and some other flag bearers out there like Elijah Bear, linebacker that's going to be key for Washington tonight. They're fired up. The band is sounding good as always here in Washington. It's a color guard as well, but yeah, talking about the keys to the game, Cody, both these teams have, a surprising amount of two-way players given how big these schools are. We see a lot of two-way players in, smaller classes like 2A and 3A, but both the Panthers and the Kays have a number of two-way guys, especially for Washington. Kanan McQuarrie plays both ways. Tyler Brown plays both ways. Brayson Barth plays both ways. Those are all seniors for the Panthers, so obviously still week 2. You're still looking to get conditioned a bit. Going to be looking a lot at those 3 players tonight.
For sure, Jonathan, as both these teams kind of give their last-minute hoorah speeches, trying to come out of here each 2-0, trying to find their try to find a way to navigate their way to that path. That is the end goal tonight, to leave here 2-0 for both these squads. Of course, we touched on it. Both teams will have a battle-tested conference slate. It's the chit-chat. It's time to be over with it, John. This is going to be a spectacular ball game.
It certainly will, and you see Washington, their starters are about to be announced. But you said it, Cody. I mean, one of these teams is going to be very, very happy to be 2-0 on the year because both of their non-conference schedules are loaded. Kankakee is thrilled to be playing Washington because they're a good team. Washington feels mutual about Kankakee, and obviously the Kays took on the #1 team in the state in Class 5A, beat them. Washington took on a receiving votes Canelan team that is going to hopefully make some noise in the playoffs. So whoever wins tonight is going to look really good. And even for whoever loses this game, they're still not looking too bad because, these games against great non-conference teams will really set the stage and really improve your team once you get into conference play next week.
Most certainly, and as the Washington Panthers get ready to serenade their starters onto the field, we will have just a quick moment to once again take in this great atmosphere. Not a seat to be had left open here on the home side. Kankakee bringing bodies as well. Again, not a short trip from Kankakee to Washington, but again, third time in 3 years these two teams have met in the non-conference. They're very familiar with each other, and they've said that Washington, Daryl Crouch hinted to it, he had his players watch last year's game film against this same Kankakee team and how they really beat them up on the inside, and they were out in that meeting for blood.
Yeah, they certainly were, and Crouch didn't seem too terribly happy about what happened last year. He said they pretty just manhandled them at the line. So Washington's line's gonna have to step up as well. Really, nobody on Washington's gonna be able to take a play or take a drive off. You gotta come and bring it every single play against this Kays team, and Kankakee has to do the same against Washington because this Panthers team is fired up. They're feeling great. One of the most preseason hype they've had in years. So Kays have got to bring it as well. It's a little bit of a long road trip for them, as you mentioned. So we're going to see here early here in the first quarter how that long bus ride affected the Kays.
Most certainly. Now is a great time as Washington continues to run out their starters. To remind you of the Academy of Screen Printing and Awards coin toss. It was won by the Washington Panthers, and they had deferred to the second half. The Kankakee Kays will receive the opening kickoff, and we will see this high-powered offense take the field very shortly, Jonathan.
Yeah, Kankakee obviously put up 33 last week against Nazareth Academy. They're led by multi-year starter Lorenzo Walters, who we haven't really even talked about yet at quarterback. He is the lead guy for Kankakee. Didn't have the best week passing last week with just 5 for 12 and 32 yards and a pick, but running the ball had 74 yards, a rush TD, and he struck right away on the second play of the game, 74-yard rush touchdown. So this Kankakee team, they're going to come out firing probably on this first drive. Washington safeties in their secondary are really going to have to watch out for them.
Most certainly. Again, there you see the Washington Panthers getting ready to send out their kickoff unit. Again, they had won the opening coin toss and elected to defer to the second half. The Kankakee Kays will go ahead and will receive the opening kick. It will be Garrett Cox, the kicker for the Washington Panthers, the senior, to send things off tonight. We'll get his swing of the foot here just momentarily. There you see Washington Panthers getting some last-minute coaching, trying to find a way to, again, navigate a high-powered offense that their defense will see first. This will be a great one. We want to thank all of you for tuning into WMBD tonight, powered by Clutch Sports Media. Again, Cody Roskins alongside me is Jonathan Michael. As Garrett Cox gets ready to send us underway from Washington, the Kankakee Kays in their offense will come out to begin.
Looks like Keandre White back deep to return the kick for the Kays, the junior DB and wide receiver. One of many Kays that have blazing speed. They have a track star in their backfield who we'll touch on later in Tony Phillips. But it's time for kickoff, Cody. Let's get this party started.
The time for chit-chat has passed. It's time to get underway from Washington. Two teams, 1-0, looking to go 2-0 here in Central Illinois. White will field it in the end zone for the touchback. And now we will see the starting lineups presented by Bob Grimm Chevrolet.
Noah Bell, Jr., D-line.
Robert Martin IV, Senior, D-line.
Garrett Cox, Senior, DN.
Carter Prina, Jr., defensive end.
Eli Bear, Senior, linebacker.
Eli Pappas, Senior, linebacker.
Jace Harlan, Senior, linebacker.
Dre Lewis, Jr., cornerback.
Bryson Barth, Senior, corner.
Kenny McQuarrie, Senior, safety.
Zach Ryan, Senior, safety.
Tyler Brown, Senior, safety.
Lorenz Walters takes the first snap, handoff to the left side, and Kankakee off to a good start. Left side, Jonathan, it's kind of going to be that kind of game so far, we should say. They're going to try and hit the perimeter quite a bit. Washington's going to have to try and find a way to contain all that speed.
Yeah, certainly, and I I think it really comes down to their linebackers, Cody, and it's a very experienced group, so they got to feel good about that. Jace Harlan, Eli Pappas, Eli Bear, 3 players you got to watch out for on Washington tonight. They have a big job.
It'll be a keep by Walters, and he is swallowed up. An excellent stand for the Washington defense. Nobody fooled on the quarterback keep.
Yeah, and just saw the Washington Stars come up on your screen there. Yeah, they're led by 2 returners, Carter Prina and Garrett Cox. Also Noah Bell as well. He's a returning starter. So we talked to Daryl Crouch. He said he was looking for a better game out of Prina and Cox this week. Nice job by them in the D-line to lock that run up.
First time we won't see 2 running backs in the backfield. Instead, it'll be 4 wide receivers with trips to the right for the Kays. Again, they have a mammoth of an offensive line as Walters takes snap. He's going to test them deep early, going downfield, and it's incomplete. Washington passes the first test on the deep ball.
And great coverage there by Brayson Barth, the senior cornerback and wide receiver for Washington. He really had his man locked up. Still looking to get a name on who that was. It looked like that was Zion Turner for Kankakee, who Walters was looking for. But Washington's got to be really happy about that. 3 and out, and Kankakee didn't advance the ball too much, so Panthers should hope to get good field position.
Bryson Barth will be back deep to return for Washington. He stands at the Panthers' own 40. So again, an excellent start for the Panthers defense getting off the field. Pending a penalty, of course, as late bodies run on here for the Kays. That is Jaquel Hill. He's a two-type of position player on offense. We'll play time at both wide receiver and running back as we have our first penalty of the night as Bryson Barth waves off his team. He instead will field it on a hop, turning it upfield, and gets out of bounds just about where he started at the 40. And we'll get a quick read on the penalty.
And Barth got lit up there on the sideline. Kankakee hitting hard already, but nice job by Barth taking there and getting a couple yards out of it.
So it looks like it'll be a legal formation against Kankakee. As we'll go ahead, run you the starters from Bob Grimm Chevrolet.
Tyler Humphrey, junior, quarterback.
Cannon McQuarrie, senior, running back. Jace Harlan, senior, fullback.
Dre Lewis, junior, wide receiver.
Tyler Brown, senior, receiver. Brayson Barth, senior, receiver.
James Johnson, sophomore, wide receiver.
Garrett Cox, senior, tight end.
Cash Wisher, junior, right tackle.
Noah Bell, Jr., right guard.
Aiden O'Brien, senior, center. Jack Stewart, junior, guard.
Robert Martin IV, senior, D-line.
Back into action. That one nearly blocked. Did the Panthers get a piece of it? They've got to get out of the way now as Barth instead will sheath under, and this ball dies pretty much exactly where Bryson Barth went out of bounds on the last play. So now the Washington offense will take the field, Jonathan, and they'll have their first crack at this Kankakee defense.
Yeah, I mean, we just saw the offensive starters by Washington on your screen, those new Sunday Night Football style intros we like. They're super glad to be doing those this year. But, yeah, like we said, on Washington's offense, led by Tyler Humphrey, the junior quarterback who was in a QB battle last year, didn't get the starting job, was in another battle again this year, won it out over Mason Burke, a transfer from Dunlap and Madden Mendoza. He's got to have a good night. Like we said, this is going to be his introduction to playing with the big boys.
Humphrey will come out in the eye. First play is a handoff straight up the middle and swallowed whole for maybe a yard. Just again, going straight up the gut. And Coach Joe Crouch was not shy in telling us, John, that they give these guys an extended play clock and they're not going to be very rushed to snap the ball between plays.
No, in Washington, they want to control the tempo of this game. They're probably going to take the play clock down pretty deep. Time of possession, is not one of those maybe more attractive stats you see in the stat book, but if you really own that, it makes it really hard on an opposition to win.
Again, out in the eye. This time it's a toss play off the back of the fullback, but Humphrey able to dive back on top of it. Miscommunication, mistimed, whatever you want to call it. The Panthers are moving backwards, and that'll be first down and call it about third down and about 15.
Yeah, I'm not quite at country mile status yet, Cody, but not what the Panthers wanted, especially trying to take advantage of that 3 and out. We'll see. Probably going to expect Humphrey to maybe air this one out. Maybe we'll see him I'm looking for Tyler Brown and Brayson Barth at receiver. Barth will be at the top of your screen. McQuarrie in the backfield. Looks like Harlan. 2 Humphreys left at fullback.
And it'll be split backs out of the shotgun. Humphrey will drop back to pass. Free rusher in his face. He's flushed out. Pump fakes downfield, and it's jarred loose just in front of the line of scrimmage. Massive hit will bring up 4th down.
Yeah, Marquise Terrell laid the wood. Took him to the lumber yard there. And again, Kankakee, both on that play and on that kick return, they didn't really need to tackle Washington hard, but they did. And obviously those were, I believe those were both clean tackles. Shows you how fired up they are for this game. Forces Washington into a 4th down. Kankakee and Lorenz Walters will get the ball right back here with under 9 minutes to go.
So Panthers will line up to punt it away. They go backwards. And that punt nearly gets blocked. Contact with the punter, no penalty. That's Kankakee down the far side. Turner trying to turn it upfield. He will take it just across the 50. A great return for the Kays.
And a pretty good tackle there. By number 36 for Washington. Looks like Thomas Diederich, I believe, making the stop for Washington. So that was big, but good return for the Kays. They're already in plus territory.
So Kankakee will start up in much better field position. Already on the plus side, like you said, John. It'll be 1st down and 10. Called at about the 46-yard line. So Walters will start out of the shotgun. 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers. It is an inside handoff. Room to operate, continuing to push that pile forward. Play eventually blown dead. Officials will give him about 4 when it's all said and done.
McQuarrie's helmet came off, so he's got to come off for a play, but I saw Jace Harlan was one of the first people there for the Panthers, and he's just that great senior presence that you need. They call him the Bulldog, and he honestly looks like one as well. When we were shooting those intro videos, I was like, boy, this Jace Harlan kid is not a kid I'd want to run into in a back alley. He is a tough player for Washington.
Kankakee slowing it down just a bit as they'll send Phillips in motion. For now, trips wide receivers to the right. 1 running back, 3 wide outs. Walters, quick bubble out. It is stumbling to the ground. Nothing doing for Hartrick, the 5'7" wideout.
And that's one thing I was looking at about Kankakee's roster, Cody, is they have a lot of speed, but aside from Easley and a couple other guys on their line, they don't have a ton of size, at least at like your linebacker, your receiver, your quarterback positions. A lot of them, Washington is outsizing Kankakee, so we'll see what effect that has on the game tonight.
So 3rd down and just a couple north of what you'd like to be. Call it 8. Again, they'll come out 3 wide receivers and Walters in the shotgun. It'll be a handoff, bouncing it backwards, nowhere to go, and the Panthers pound him in the backfield.
This is exactly the start you've been looking for. If you're Washington, it looks like that was either Eli Pappas or Brayson Barth finishing the job. That was Pappas, the senior linebacker, who we mentioned, Cody. Those linebackers have impressed me so far. They're stepping up to the job.
Cox also in the vicinity for Washington defensively. Now the punt unit will come back out. So when it's all said and done, Kankakee actually goes backwards as well. So we haven't seen much offense from these 2 teams early on, and that's just how Washington would like it, as that one gets a lot of hang time. And interference with the return man. That is going to be an easy call for the boys in stripes.
And that ball really just hung up there. Kankakee, obviously, with their speed, you mesh those 2 things together, and you might get some fair catch interference, things like that. That'll help Washington a bit, as the Orange Crush says you can't do that. Classic high school student section cheer all across the country.
Well, and that was Dietrich, that was Elijah Pappas, who picked up that football, John. Everybody stopped on the penalty, but Pappas scooped it up, immediately tore down the sideline. Referees will now confer. And the penalty is going to be on Kankakee. That we knew. So this will be a great time to bring up Jonathan. Keys to the game. There's a lot that could happen in this one, but these are some of the things that both teams will need to do walk out of here 2-0.
As we get our keys here, Kankakee, their keys for them was nickel and dime and slow and steady. So they got to be prepared for Washington slowing it down, and nickel and dime. I don't know, Cody, what do you got to say about the Kays with that?
Well, yeah, nickel and dime. It's the 5 and 10 yard variety. You won't be always beat them over the top, suck them in a little bit with these 5 yard, 10 yard plays, and then hit them over the top. But it's definitely a philosophy that I think really goes well with the game plan this week.
And for Washington, we got road work and test them deep. And, obviously, sometimes the best way to beat a team is, to try and beat them at their own game. So maybe we'll see if Washington can try and, spread Kankakee out as well, give their playmakers some room to operate. Kaden McQuarrie and the rest of the Washington receivers, they can also make plays as well. They're not the only, Kankakee isn't the only athletic players on the field here tonight.
So Pappas, because he picked up the ball, Jonathan, was able to really advance the ball for the Panthers. That's a very heads-up play by Pappas. That'll be tacked on after the interference. And so now it'll be Washington Panthers football, 1st down and 10, 4 wide receivers in the shotgun formation. And as the referees continue to sort out situation on the field, again, neither of these teams moved the ball very much so far. We just saw Kankakee start their first drive in plus territory. Now Washington will do the same. Just about 6.5 minutes to go here in quarter number 1. As Humphrey will work out of the shotgun. Passing, looking down that far sideline, going up top, and nobody's there. A little overthrown from Humphrey, bring up 2nd and 10.
Yeah, and Humphrey, obviously shows that he won the quarterback battle, so that certainly means something for Washington, but I think the Panthers are still looking for a little bit more out of him this year. Obviously, Washington had Jake Stewart last year, a great quarterback for the Panthers, but Humphrey's still getting acclimated a little bit, and he's played 2 very good teams in his first 2 weeks, so kind of a baptism by fire for him, but last week, Washington just pounded the ball on the ground with Kaden McQuarrie. Today, we'll have to see if they can maybe find a little more balance on offense.
Harlan comes into the game at running back for Washington. The last pass intended for James Johnson. It's a quarterback keep by Humphrey. Harlan lays a great block. And a quick scamper up the right side will make it 3rd down and manageable for Washington.
We'll see if we can get the first down of the game. It's just been 3 and outs on both sides so far. We'll see what this Kankakee defense can do. They're led by a great group of linebackers, brothers Canarius and Kenyon Chandler, along with Marquise Hill. That's kind of the main position group to watch. That's 9, 15, and 10 in white for the Kays.
Humphrey appears to have the appropriate signals. Just 4 left on the play clock. Again, they are in no hurry to snap the ball tonight. Penalty flags will fly. Humphrey steps up in the pocket under pressure, and down he goes. Kankakee with an excellent job defensively, but we'll have to get a read on what the penalty is.
And Michael Washington got in there, actually had 1 full sack last week. Got one there, but I'm not sure if this one will stand. That's going to be a penalty against Washington, so I don't know if...
It was a very quick throw of the flag. Again, didn't quite catch the signal, but again, Panthers will be moving back here unless the penalty's declined.
Looks like an illegal man downfield also in Washington. The man in the white hat tapped the top of his cap. That means that one of the linemen moved more than 2 yards downfield.
It appears they have declined the penalties. This will bring up 4th down. Washington maybe looking like they might go for this, John.
And honestly, you might as well. You want to make a statement at home. No one has really been able to break through at all in the first quarter. If you can just get 1 good play and everything, it could really help. But it looks like personnel change. It looks like the Panthers are going to punt this away, maybe try and pin the Panthers deep. I don't mind this decision at all. They're actually lining up maybe for
this looks like the
field
kick
goal.
Team. This will be the kick team, John.
This is going to be about a 47, actually a 50-yard field goal as it stands right now. Devin Miller, the goalkeeper for Washington boys soccer team.
Well, now we have another position change. So maybe the punt team will come out. So the same returners going back for Kankakee, and looks to be White and Turner. And so Garrett Cox will indeed send this one off. It's again a high arcing punt returned by Turner. He fumbled it. Ball is free inside the 5. Turner did come back up with it, so the Kays will retain possession, but it's just as effective as a down punt inside the 5.
That's a great situation there for Washington. Maybe they say good, not great, because if it was great, they probably would have recovered. But they got to be really happy. Going to make Kankakee give them a long field down at the 5-yard line. Anywhere inside the 20 you like. Anywhere inside the 10 is even better. Inside the 5, you are very happy about that.
It'll have to be a 95-yard drive if Kankakee is going to come away with a touchdown. They haven't had much success moving the ball. In fact, they went backwards on their last drive by about 2.5 yards. And Walter will come out again in the shotgun. Dropping back, quick little flare pass out to the right-hand side, immediately chopped down. It'll be a gain of about 4 or 5 when it's all said and done.
That was Cannon McQueer getting in there on the tackle for Washington. We mentioned him as a key player to watch for the Panthers, not just on offense, though. There's a reason we made him because he's obviously going to have a huge role on defense, play in the secondary. So he's got a very important job covering these very fast Kankakee wide receivers.
So 2nd down and 5. Again, as a handoff up the middle, Kankakee with some space. It will be a 1st down. Quick cuts in the middle of that linebacking core, giving the Kays a fresh set of downs.
And that was Tony Phillips on the carry for Kankakee as their leading and returning rusher from last year. The senior, not too big of a back at 5'7", 150, but he's got plenty of speed. Won 4 track titles.
And here he is again, handoff up the middle. Instead, that will be, I believe, Stampley 4 on the carry. Excuse me, no, it is Tony Phillip when it's all said and done. Another fresh set of downs, John.
And Kankakee has started to figure it out, so now it's going to be on Washington. Obviously, you want to put all your trust in your defense to get off the field here, but Darryl Crouch is going to be looking at Kankakee and saying, all right, these guys are getting ready to go now. We have to match them.
Here's another handoff. This one not as successful, going left-hand side. Cut down immediately. Will bring up 2nd down and about 8.
Now is Jaquel Hill. So 3 straight rushes, 3 different backs for the Kays. Not a huge roster. We were talking about the Kays have only a little over 30 on their varsity, but every single one of them plays a big role.
Well, you go a little between lightning and thunder there. You go from tackling 150 pounds to 226 as they're listed on the roster. Another handoff. Phillips is close to a 1st down. And it looks like it'll be 3rd down and call it about a ruler.
Just about. This is going to be gut check time for the Panthers here on their defensive line. Watch Prina, 89, the defensive end closest to your screen. 3-4 front right now, but here come their linebackers ready to stuff.
It's a quarterback keep, trying to sneak forward, and he got more than what he needed. Big rush from Walters as he went under center and quickly snapped the ball. Able to surge ahead for the 1st down, and they're almost to midfield.
Really nice drive being put together by Kankakee. Already 6 plays, and they moved it 44 yards. So really they avoided the worst case scenario there of the safety and making a potential touchdown drive out of this.
Handoff again, a lot of running room. Here go the Kays into the open field, sprinting free. Jaquel Hill with a monster carry for Kankakee.
Zach Ryan with a monster tackle for the Panthers there. Hill could have broke that one out and found pay dirt if Ryan didn't get there, because it looked like the Kays also had a blocker down the field. So, and this Kankakee team, I watched some film on them last week. They can cut extremely well. So even if they don't have a straight line to the end zone, may as well be for them because they can change direction very quickly, especially James Stampley.
Handoff to Phillips. He's chopped down in the backfield. What a great open field tackle that was. Magnificent effort by the part-time running back and linebacker, Jace Harlan.
And Harlan has just been wreaking havoc, Cody. I saw a video on Twitter this week. It was, I believe, Arizona State's one of their coaches. And he was talking about a player saying his chaos rate is just insane. He's in the backfield almost every time. I don't know what the formula is for chaos rate, but Jace Harlan has got to be through the roof right now.
It's a big loss. Call it about 6. And Walters will come out in the shotgun trying to move the chains once more. Play action pass. It's batted in the air and nearly picked off in the same motion by Pappas.
How about that play from another Washington linebacker? Cody, again, it's very early in this game, but if it stays like this, Washington ends up winning. We may be choosing the entire Washington linebacking core as our player of the game. Pappas, great awareness just to flash those hands up quickly, get his paws on it, almost came away with it. 3rd and 24.
So it'll be 3rd down in about 24. So we're 3rd down in a country mile to go for the Kankakee Kays. 5 wide receivers for Walters. Scans the field, goes left. It's in and out of the intended target's hands. That looked like Turner. And it'll be incomplete, It'll be McElroy.
Now he's looking for his lead wideout, Quan McElroy, number 12 in white. And I think if he would have delivered that ball on the money, McElroy could have turned upfield, maybe made a move, had one man to beat. Washington dodges a bullet there again. Walters showing it off with his legs so far, still looking to see what he can do with his arm.
So the Washington defense yet again passes the test. Walters back to send this one away. Again, John, it just can't be understated how big these early stands are from both these defenses to keep them in this contest. As whistles blow, and we'll have a quick stoppage. Timeout charged to the Kays. And this timeout is brought to you by the Fox Pub in Peoria.
Fox Pub, a great place. Nice little sort of British and Irish bar. Great place to catch a game. If you're tuning in from Fox Pub right now, I want to certainly welcome you into the broadcast tonight. We're having lots of fun here in Washington, despite it being a 0-0 game, Cody. I remember we were here, at least I was here for week 9 last year, and Morton and Washington played. It was a 7-0 game, which the Panthers won. But even though the score was low, it was one of the most fun games I'd ever watched.
Middle Illini will continue to be a lot of fun this year. And of course, you'll get more than your fair share of it here on Clutch Sports Media, either here on WMBD or ClutchSportsIL.com. Again, another opportunity for us to really shout out Clutch Sports Overtime, the work you've done this off season to set it up as the first-time general manager of Clutch Sports IL. Ton of content. Would love for you guys to get there. Again, it's a flash sale tonight, lasts till midnight. You CSM Week 2 to get your discount on the first month as the Kays setting ready to send this one away. Again, sails well into the end zone, so no threat of a return. And the Panther offense will retake the field.
And again, a big chance here for Washington. And they saw what Kankakee did there on that last drive. Had some big runs. Haven't seen a ton of great positive runs from McQuarrie so far. And got to credit the Kankakee defense for that. But you got to figure that sooner or later, he's got to break open a big one. Had some huge runs last week.
John, we've touched on it quite a bit tonight, but Darryl Crouch doing his last season here. It's his last time he'll have a home opener. He's just really lifted this program. He is a storied man in this community.
Yeah, the big DC, we like to call him, and boy, he was very well-spoken. Don't go anywhere during halftime because you'll be seeing Darryl Crouch. It's quite the video star this past week. A little surprise coming up for you on halftime, but he's done a great job, as you see on your screen, for Washington.
Toss play to the right side for the Panthers, able to get them about 5. Last time they ran that, it resulted in a couple-yard loss after the pitch went off the back of their fullback, and that may take us to the end of the first quarter. Clock running to about 30 seconds left here in the opening frame.
Yeah, play clock at 30, game clock at 27, so we'll see if Washington decides to just let this one bleed out. Would not be surprised if they did.
And that looks like it'll be the case. Panthers not looking like they'll be running another play. So, again, with the last 10 seconds running off here in the first quarter, it's been a great one. Everything we thought and more early on here between Kankakee and Washington. We're through the first quarter here in Washington, and we'll be right back after a short break. You're watching WMBD.
Charge selection in the heart of Chevy country. At Uptrang in Washington, the gold bow ties are lined up, shined up, and ready to roll. We're dealing on rows of new Silverados with more on the way. And we'll take on any dealer's best price, Chevy for Chevy. Get more for your trade at Uptrang Chevy in Washington.
Local 649 is looking for the next generation of apprentices. Between our commitment to safety and detail and state-of-the-art training facility, you will find more than just a career, but a family, creating legacies since 1896.
Welcome back to Washington. Again, we closed on it as we got towards the end of the first quarter, but again, now is a great time to head over to CSM.com. Really buy into this CSM overtime. Jonathan, you can go more in depth than really what I could about what this entails, but it's a great program to have, great subscription to really any high school sports fan in the state of Illinois.
Yeah, and obviously we have a lot of talented folks here at ClutchSportsIL.com. Really want to credit a lot of other people for helping out as well. I've had a lot of fun, obviously writing lots of stories and just kind of sorting, kind of being in charge of everything here for CSM. But again, use that flash sale CSM Week 2 on ClutchSportsIL.com/overtime. Get 50% off your first month. I'm pretty sure you're going to like that.
And dancing in the backfield won't get him far. Washington will essentially lose all that they gained on first down back in the first quarter. So this will bring up third down in about 9, maybe even 10, depending on how they spot it. So this is the exact situation that Washington needs to avoid tonight, John.
Yeah, they're a little bit deeper in their own territory. It's third and medium. Obviously, you want to avoid third downs as much as possible, which neither team has really been able to do tonight. Kankakee did once or twice on the last drive, but it's taken about, 3 tries, and they still can't even get 10 yards. And it's just been a defensive struggle. Again, 3rd and 7. I'm eager to see what Humphrey does here. Maybe I'm looking for a potential screen pass to McQuarrie.
Humphrey will take the snap. It's a play-action pass going outside in contested airspace. Was looking for number 88, James Johnson, the sophomore wideout.
Johnson brings lots of height to the Washington receiver room. Barth is 5'11", Brown's 5'10", Andre Lewis is 5'11", but Johnson towers all over all of them at 6'4". Needed that long wingspan to try and knock that ball. Almost played defense on offense. Knocked it away from Keandre White, the St. Rita transfer for Kankakee, who came up with a pick last week.
So Garrett Cox will line up to send this away to Keandre White and Zion Turner. Able to get it off without much of a problem. Sailing high, arcing punt. Dances out just right at the midfield marker. So that is where the Kays will set up for their next offensive series. John, where do the Kays need to go to get this offense moving? They had a good drive last time, but they end up shooting themselves in the foot late.
Yeah, I mean, certainly I think it all starts with their guys Phillips and Stampley. Also mixed Jaquel Hill in there. I liked what they did on their last drive, mixing all the 3 running backs. They all bring a different skill set. Hill's a little bit of a bigger guy at 5'7", 226. Phillips, obviously we mentioned, won 4 Class 1A track titles. Not a Kankakee, he was a transfer from Bishop McNamara. So Miles Osei, the head coach for the Kays, happy to have him. Then James Stampley, nicknamed Dink, is what they call him. He's got quite some speed as well, rushed for 2 scores last week.
Quick pass, far side of the field, in and out of the wide receiver's hands. Was not a lateral or essentially a backwards or sideways pass, so it falls incomplete for 2nd and 10.
Yeah, and you saw Walters, maybe there on your screen, just kind of fell to the ground and put his hands over his head. That's about one of the easier passes you can have, and just slipped right through Phillips' arms. So you mentioned they shot themselves in the foot last drive. Kind of did so a bit there. Obviously, the stakes a little bit lower on first down, but those can kill you later in the game. What could have been. You don't want to play that game.
Going with 4 wideouts on 2nd down. Looking for the in route. Far side popped up in the air, and did Pappas come up with it? It is incomplete. But dancing with fire on 2nd down. It'll bring up 3rd and long.
And that's the second near pick that Pappas came up with today, just out of his fingertips. I thought from our angle he may have had it. Looked like Walters was looking for Keandre White there. Great coverage from Washington secondary. I haven't really seen Kankakee try and go over the top too much. Daryl Crouch mentioned that. He said they're just going to try and line up and go down the field. Really haven't seen many fly routes that Walters is trying to hit on so far.
Quarterback keep by Walters, able to make some men miss. He continues to dance upfield, but he will be just short of the first down by about 1.5 yards. Great job by the Panther defense to corral. But ultimately, those first 2 downs did the Kays in.
And it's 4th and short. I wouldn't be surprised if the Kays go for this, honestly, especially in Washington territory, the way their defense is playing.
That
looks
looks
like
to
they're
be
going to
the
stay
case.
out.
Last time we saw him under center, it was a quarterback sneak. Man in motion. It's a handoff outside, trying to get to the edge.
What a tackle. Oh!
And he did not get there. The Panthers are on the prowl. A massive play. And this will be holding against the Kays. The play will be declined, and it'll be turnover on downs. Ball back to the Panthers.
Boy, Cody, from our angle up here in the press box, it looked like Tony Phillips just had tons of free turf in front of him, and real estate to run, but Eli Bear said, not so fast, my friend. Dikembe Mutombo style said, no, no. What a play in the backfield. Bear, Harlan, and Pappas. The three horsemen of the Kankakee apocalypse so far.
They're just waiting on number 4 right now, but again, the Panther defense has done just about everything they could have dreamed of in terms of a start to this ball game. They've pinned them back deep. They've forced near turnovers, pushed this Kank offense backwards, and now Humphrey will come out and see if he can get his own offense in gear.
And fairly good field position here for the Panthers. I think he does get 1 or 2 first downs. We saw them bring Miller out for a long field goal, so got to figure that those have got to be in range. Miller's got a big leg. Panthers trying to get on the board.
Back to pass, under duress, fires one over the top, man wide open, and it's in and out of the hands of his intended target in McCurry, and that will be incomplete, 2nd and 10.
Boy, first Tony Phillips, and then Kenan McQuarrie, Eli Pappas. They've all had balls that just fall out of their hands. I don't think the ball would be too wet tonight, and not really too terribly humid here. Ball's just a bit overthrown, and those are the little things. That's going to be so important here in this game. If McQuarrie brings that in, Washington's looking at 1st and 10 from about their own 35 at the very worst.
So penalty against the Panthers will move them back. It is holding. Penalty will be accepted, so redo first down, back them up 10. And that might be a case, John, of being too open. We've seen that, show its face a time or two. Sometimes those are the hardest catches to make when you know nobody's around you. But Washington had them fooled, and that's one of those plays they're going to have in this game. Again, number of publications around the area had a variety of scores on it. Central Illinois more on the slim side of things. Typically a 1-score spread across the majority of picks. It'll be 4 wide receivers for Humphrey on 1st down and 20. Send a man across the formation. Sprint out pass. Humphrey looking, pump fakes and will just eat it. Takes a big lick on the end of it, and that may be targeting Jonathan. It was definitely to the head or neck area, making sure Humphreys is okay.
And Humphrey popped back up all right. Glad he is all good again. Washington's got some QBs in the stable if Humphrey gets hit too hard. You obviously don't want to see that, but he just had nowhere to run. Once he started scrambling, there were 3 Ks that just were looking at him like a predator looks at their prey. They had him lined up, ready to hit. Washington's going to get pretty lucky here, turning a negative play, and looks like they're probably going to get some yardage out of this after that hard hit.
So it is targeting against the Kays.
A personal foul. Targeting would probably get him ejected, but regardless, still moves the Panthers up.
So yes, John, they essentially gained back all the yardage they lost and maybe even a yard or 2 more than they would have. So it'll be 1st down in the elusive 9.
Don't see that too often. There's, the scoregami for NFL scores that never are seen before. I'm sure there's been some 1st and 9s that have happened, but I don't see this too often.
They officially call it 1st and 8, so rarity on the scorebug as Humphrey hands off up the middle. McQuarrie trying to find space. Doesn't gain much.
And it's Kankakee defensive front, again led by Michael Washington, the junior, and another junior, Eli Faulkner. A freshman, Jair Sutton, is up on the line for the Kays, number 55 in white. Maybe not the most experienced group, but they've done really well against Washington's Kenan McQuarrie, again, who 22 rushes, 235 yards, and 3 touchdowns last week against a very good Caneland team. There's going to be lots of stat lines he's going to put up like that this year.
Toss play near side towards us here in the booth. Trying to find some more room to operate. That'll gain him about 4 as McQuarrie continues to try and establish that ground game.
I bring up another 3rd down for Washington. I think they've had a 3rd down just about every drive they've had so far. Last week, Washington thrived on 3rd down, actually, when they were down 27-10. Brayson Barth and Kenan McQuarrie made some huge plays. Haven't seen it yet from them this week. Going to be a huge one here about midway through the 2nd. Got to feel like someone's going to have that big home run play sooner or later.
Feel like if they get close here, they may decide to go for it. Out of the shotgun. Be a quarterback keep. Humphrey trying to power forward. A lot of room for the quarterback to sprint to the 40 and move those chains. It's a Panther first down.
And we talked about, can we see what Tyler Humphrey's arms looks like? If you can run like that, you don't really need to throw that much. Nice job there by Humphrey. He saw Faulkner coming in hot off of the far corner. If he would have gone the other way, it would have been an easy loss, but went right behind Noah Bell and Cash Wisher on the right side of Washington's line. It's an experienced line for the Panthers, Cody. We haven't mentioned it yet, but could take them very far this year.
That's just a numbers game when they run that quarterback power. You get the running back and the H-back both in there to block. Humphrey will hand up to the fullback, and a penalty flag flies. Didn't gain him. In fact, lost him a couple yards. As Jace Harlan tried to find his way forward. It's been a pretty penalty-laden first couple of quarters here.
Yeah, and you'll get that the first couple weeks. Both teams still, trying to get into the real flow of game action. Obviously, you play in the summer, you got scrimmages and 7-on-7s, but I don't know about these scrimmages, but I know there's really no refs at 7-on-7, so this is, really only the second time for every team across the state, in-game action against someone other than themselves.
So it looks like the Panthers will be marched back, still waiting on Kankakee to accept the penalty, and they have. So again, it's now first down and quite a long ways to go. This next snap will come at about the Panthers' own 45-yard line. A first down lies at the opposing 30. So it'd have to be a chunk play to get them back within moving distance of the chains. Shotgun look here for Humphrey once more. 3 wide receivers, option play. Humphrey tries to juke inside, nothing doing, loses about a yard and a half.
And Jakari Lewis, another D lineman for the Kays, got in there. That was the one to bring down Humphrey. Again, you look at him on the roster, not a big guy, 5'10", 225. Look at Jair Sutton, 5'8", 220. Faulkner is more built like almost like a cornerback or a safety at 5'11", 195. So not a lot of size on this Kays defensive line, but lots of speed. They've been all in Washington's backfield all night long.
Panthers will shuffle personnel in and out of the game. It'll be second down and 27 coming up for the Panthers. Humphrey hollering out some audibles. McQuarrie to the left of him in the backfield, and this will be a timeout charge to the Panthers. This timeout brought to you by the Fox Pub in Peoria.
Cody, I think this is a good time here while we're talking about, obviously, Kankakee's defense on the field. Last year, this is a great unit for the Kays. Really, they shut out tons of opponents all season long. Posted a couple shutouts, and really they allowed 22 points, I remember, to Crete Moni in a narrow loss. They only allowed 2 in a season-opening loss to Nazareth last year. And other than that, lots of single-digit numbers being put up on the scoreboard. Last year, they had Jair Hill, who's now playing at Michigan, and Naz Hill, who's now playing at Wyoming, both in their secondary. So it was a great secondary. Couldn't find the words as how to describe it. But from what I saw, what I heard, it was a very stout Kays defense last year, and despite losing 2 D1 players, they're still back.
Well, John, not to excuse your error there, but it was probably because the man with the T-shirt can was firing T-shirts up here at the press box, and one sailed right over the top. Long distance play coming up for Washington. Sails over the head of his intended target, incomplete for Bryson Barth. So again, a long distance situation coming up here. Unlikely that you get this all in one play. You're probably going to have to just play field position here.
Yeah, I think so for Washington. I mean, maybe just try and throw it short. Maybe try and get maybe 5-10 yards. Maybe see if one of your guys can make a move. But I'm sure Kankakee is probably going to drop back into maybe a cover 3 or a cover 4 here. Probably going to try and just prevent the big play. And almost, obviously, instinct is you want to pass. You're on 3rd and 27. But you know that Kankakee secondary, expect that. So maybe if you're Washington, maybe just take a draw play up the middle, try and maybe get it close to the 50, if not a cross.
And this will be another timeout to Washington. Again, this timeout brought to you by the Fox Pub in Peoria. And so Panthers want to talk about it just a little bit longer, John, on this 3rd down and 27.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of lopsided numbers that are down in distances here tonight. Some of them not even, fitting in our scoreboard. Charlie Shermhorn overproducing tonight's game, but both these teams just do it, whether it be penalties or big plays in the backfield. It has not been easy for either offense tonight. It's a very good chance that we go into halftime scoreless. And Cody, I don't know about you, but I figured that there'd be at least a decent amount of points scored in this game. Both scored 33 last week against very good teams, but both flexing their defensive muscles tonight.
Well, I think both teams, like you said, John, to your point, you maybe think you should have some more points on the board, but I think both coaches will be very happy with the fact that they've contained both offenses so well. Their offenses have moved the ball. Kankakee, you could argue, has moved it just a touch better, getting pretty close to scoring range before a couple penalties moved them back far enough that they had to punt. But, again, early in the year, both offenses trying to find a rhythm.
And certainly are. Washington comes out with 4 wide receivers.
And there is that draw play that you called, John, and McQueary trying to find the edge, met emphatically just before midfield, and the Kays defense gets him off the field.
And there's some late laundry on the field. I don't know who this is against. Well, if it's against Kankakee, I can't imagine that Miles Osei would be too happy about that, because that was a gift of a 4th and long that Washington was going to be facing.
And this will go against the Panthers.
So that
you'd assume that this one would be declined to bring up 4th down and forever. 2 return men are already out for the Kays, but it looks like they'll tack it on. And that must be because it was post-play.
Yeah, that certainly looks like it's going to be the Kays here. And if you're Washington, obviously it's 4th down. You weren't getting the 1st down anyway, but that still hurts your field position trying to punt here. It looks like Humphrey's back out with the offense.
So they will.
Maybe some confusion. I can't imagine the Panthers would go for this here on 4th and 36. That's over a third of the field.
So we've always said, it's kind of an inside joke here at CSM, that anything more than 23 yards is a country mile. This must be a country county. As it's now 4th down and 36. As the punt does sail away without any danger. And the return is fumbled again for the 2nd time tonight. Kay's able to return it, though. Turner trying to find his way upfield, and he is slammed down at the 25.
That's a great play there for Washington. That was big number 99, Devin Miller. That may have been their kicker. I think that brought him down. He was pumped up for that. Turner trying to make something out of nothing, and I can certainly expect that Kankakee can really try and move laterally on those returns, try and make some magic, some fancy plays. But a big tackle for Washington really, jolt some life in that sideline into these fans as well. They loved that tackle.
So the Kays offense will retake the field. And again, they have just got a monster of the offensive line that we've touched on at times tonight. A couple of Division I commits, and they all kind of shuffle around on there as a unit.
Yeah, easily. Obviously the Georgia commit, as we see some trickery here.
End around, trying to find some extra yardage as he runs headfirst into the Panthers sideline. We'll see where they spot it. It's a great time to bring up some things for the Kays. Again, John, both these coaches, we've already touched on head coach Gerald Crouch, but the Kays have a strong head man of their own.
Yeah, certainly the former Illini quarterback and receiver. I remember watching this guy on TV about a decade or so ago, Miles Osei, now coaching for the Kays, turned around a program over at Elk Grove, playing in his first season here at Kankakee. His Illini career, you see his numbers there. Pretty good receiver, 41 catches for nearly 400 yards and a touchdown, played under Nathan Shieldhouse, who is now the OC at Iowa State, where we're going to be tomorrow afternoon.
Absolutely. John and I will make the trip up to Ames to see the Cyclones host the Panthers, and offensive coordinator Nate Shieldhouse. Again, love the connections. They run everywhere across the sport of football, but it'll be 3rd down and call it 5 to go. Kays with 4 wide receivers. Walters again, quick pass to the sideline. Flag is down, hurled down back at the original line of scrimmage. was Phillips. Didn't look like there was a ton of room to operate.
Now Andre Lewis was just right there for Washington. Await this call, but this is looking kind of resemblant of last week, Cody, where after some early turnovers from Peoria High, Tito Gist, all of his throws pretty much just went laterally, just throwing little screens, trying to make something, not really challenging anybody downfield. But Washington's defense has just been there all night long. That penalty will go on Kankakee, as at least I suspected. Washington will get the ball back. Maybe they can, 5 minutes left, can milk some clock, go into halftime with a score.
So punt team's out for both sides, and it has been a defensive slugfest. If you're a fan of low-scoring, hard-hitting football, this is the place to be. High snap, does get it away.
That's a great kick.
This one will take a Panther first bounce and initially, but then rebounds with a little bit of top spin to stop right at about the 25.
About a 48-yard punt there from the Kays. Lorenz Walters, again, that quarterback-punter combo. Saw that last week as well. Seen some great punts in this game. Obviously, Washington, they've always had great kickers. They had Mitch Coughlin, who's obviously now playing soccer at Bradley. The Braves, shout out to them. They won that against DePaul. Cody, I know you were there. They also had another great kicker. His name escapes me right now. But 2 years ago, Washington, maybe Charlie Shermerhorn next video remembers who it was. Washington had a Paul Sporer for the Panthers.
Panthers handoff. McCreary with a spin. Looked like he might get out of there initially, but a strong run of 6 will make it 2nd and 4.
Good run there for McQuarrie, and obviously after some big runs last week, had a 55-yarder and a 34-yarder. That one was the game winner with 50 seconds left. You got to remember that, you can't always take every one to the house, so those 6-yard runs, those are positive plays, and those will also help you milk that clock.
This game has the feel, John, of the team that'll be tougher in the trenches will come out on top so far. They've been fairly even. Again, another handoff. McCreary trying to spin forward, just able to lunge ahead for another 1.5 yards. It'll be 3rd down and about 2.
Washington's game plan is looking not too different than it was last week, Cody. Just lots of runs. I like to see him try and throw it eventually, maybe not on a 3rd down situation, maybe in a 2nd and short, maybe try and take a shot, catch Kankakee sleeping. 3rd and 2, though, the playbook is open. You maybe go with a little crossing route, run some drag routes across the field. Those are some of the easiest to hit on if you can just place the ball in the right spot, but they might go with McQuarrie here at the tight set.
And that'll be a false start against the Panthers, so now it looks like they'll have to pass. We did see him run a draw play earlier, but that's just one of those unearned errors that the Kays will happily take.
Yeah, again, we don't have official stats in front of us, but I'd like to see what the penalty numbers are right now. I would guess there's probably been at least about 4 or 5 on each team so far. We've seen unsportsmanlike conduct and all sorts of things.
Toss play to McQuarrie, trying to hit the outside, continues to work forward. It'll be 4th down and about 3. Didn't gain much more than that, but punt team will probably come out.
Great tackle there from Zion Turner of Kankakee. Again, just had a great line on him, took a great path to McQuarrie. He's also very shifty and brought him down, forcing a 4th, but for Washington, I would expect to punt here, try to make Kankakee really go quick and score before the half. You don't want to give them a very short field at Washington's 33.
This game eerily resembles the Minnesota-Nebraska game from earlier this week when it was like 3-0, 7-0 at halftime. Cox has trouble with the snap, able to get it away though. This will be returned. Instead, after one hop, it does take a K bounce. It was initially touched inside the 40. And that is where the K offense will once again set up shop and try and find some momentum.
And Cody, we talk about Kankakee's offense. You mentioned their line. Again, how big of a game is this for Marquise Easley? His 2nd time playing in Washington again, the 3rd time In 3 years these teams were playing, Kankakee has won the first 2, so they were at Kankakee last year. But here back his sophomore year, Marquise Easley, the senior lineman, again, the consensus #1 O-line recruit in the state. He's committed to the Georgia Bulldogs, also at an Alpha from Alabama. Born here in Peoria, moved to Columbus, Ohio, then came back to Peoria, played his freshman year at Manual, then transferred over to Kankakee, and he is a hulk of a human being, great person. He's got a bright future in front of him as Kays running up the gut.
And that was Hill who took the handoff up the middle, gained good yardage. And we saw the Kays move the ball effectively on the ground earlier in the ball game, and they seem to be keen to going back to that. On second down, it's going to be another handoff, and again, springing it free. Watch out, here goes Hill inside the 20, down near the 10, call it the 12.
That's a great run by the Kays, one that they were looking for all night long. Looked like Hill may have broken that one free for a touchdown, but Tyler Brown was the one to track him down. Again, just right up the middle, and Kankakee just said, hey, we're going to run the football, try and stop it. Washington, a rare time tonight that they could not, really hurt him that we mentioned in the open. You got to bring it every play. Washington D-line didn't quite do it there, and it cost him.
All of 226 coming downhill. Now it's a keep by Walters, and the Panther defense all over it. Right back to the line of scrimmage.
Washington's defense has played great tonight, Cody, but if I maybe could improve one thing, if I'm
there's
Darryl
a
Crouch,
flag coming out, and this looks to be against Kankakee. So, John, both teams really got to keep their tempers in check.
Yeah, we've seen some extracurriculars tonight again. These two teams playing each other for the 3rd year in a row. They're not in the same conference. They're not even really that close to one another. Kankakee is about 2.5, 3 hours away. But these players probably know each other pretty well by this point. You may as well be conference rivals. As the referees convene here, both huddles are pretty close.
Yeah,
referees are probably talking to them and saying, hey, boys, you got to calm it down.
The rare 30-man huddle. You get 22 from the players. You get some of the ump crew, some of the parents even chiming in.
Oh, boy.
And so it looks like they will pick up the penalty. So it'll bring up second down and 10. Walters will come out in the shotgun, and again, Hill has been the man this drive, just took him down outside the 10. And there's a penalty marker, and this will most likely be against the Kays.
Boy, the referees are getting their money's worth tonight. That'll be a false start against the Kays, back them up to the 18-yard line. So at this point in the field, obviously you don't want a penalty, but it does kind of help you a bit. You get a little more room to work. Obviously, the closer you get to the goal line, less room the defense has to cover. So Kankakee has a bit more room, but again, this Washington defense, they can make 2 great plays, put Kankakee in a 4th and a very tough decision. We'll just say that.
4 wide receivers will be the package for the Kays. Walters drops the throw, wants the over-the-middle route, and it is incomplete, intended for Zion Turner, the 5'8" wide receiver.
More great coverage there from Barth. He wasn't in front of it, but he was ready to make the tackle if Turner was able to make the catch. Turner was hoping for a flag, maybe hoping that the refs were getting a little flag happy. Not so the case. That was clean coverage there from the Panthers senior cornerback.
It'll be 3rd down and 15 yards to go. And it appears we will have a timeout charged to the Kays. And once again, this timeout brought to you by the Fox Pub in Peoria. So each team wearing thin on their remaining timeouts.
Now a 3rd and 15 for the Kays. Again, anytime that they've thrown the ball, I don't know if Walters is, again, we don't have official stats. At least to my memory, I don't think Walters has completed a pass yet tonight. He's had a couple really close ones, some balls that were tipped up in the air, but maybe aside from a screen or two, it's been all on the ground for the Kays. Here obviously they have that running back trio of Jaquel Hill, Tony Phillips, James Stampley. I'm looking at Tony Phillips right now. He's got some speed, maybe make a move, but Stampley is also a great option as well. He's got that great change of pace. He can make a cut really quickly. That was one thing I noticed about the junior back for the Kays. So it looks like it's Hill, though, the bigger back, next to Walters in the backfield.
Home side of the stands roar to life on this 3rd down and 15, trying to urge their defense on to a big stop. They'll send Hill out, and it'll be a quick tunnel screen. Room to work for the Kays. Upfield continuing to surge forward. Won't be a first down, but now that fourth down dilemma, John. Do you take the field goal or roll the dice? Because if you don't convert at the very minimum, you're pinning Washington back deep.
I'd say you might as well go for it. I don't know if Kankakee really has a kicker or how confident they are. It looks like they're going to go for it here on 4th and short from the 9.
Here is the snap, and it looks like there will be a timeout charge to Washington to avoid the too many men on the field. Great timeout by head coach Darryl Crouch. Just 32.8 left on the clock here for this first half, John. It's 4th and 5. You just kind of touched on it, but where are you going with the ball?
Yeah, I mean, that tunnel screen worked really good there for Kankakee. I think, maybe try and go play action, try and get Washington's front to bite. Open up maybe something across the field if you want to get across the yard. He's been looking towards Zion Turner a lot. Hasn't really looked at Quan McElroy too much. McElroy 5'11". These receivers for Kankakee aren't too terribly tall. You got Keandre White at 6'1", but you don't really have that big red zone threat. You don't really have a big tight end. Maybe you look for Jaquel Hill, the big running back, who also plays a bit of tight end, maybe on a swing route out of the backfield.
It will be a big. They've officially called it 4th and 6. 4 wide receivers, and Hill is the running back. Walters will run the show at quarterback. Dropping back, trying to find a man up the seam, and not a shot at it. It is incomplete.
And no flags on the
penalty.
play.
Great coverage by the Panthers secondary as they get off the field.
That is phenomenal for Washington. The pass was just overthrown. Again, Walters, he knows his receivers are fast, but he's maybe been just overestimating their speed a bit too much. Obviously, you don't want to throw a pick there, so it's a safe pass. You're still pinning Washington deep. At the 9, the risk of a safety isn't too terribly big, but as long as they can just move the ball forward, probably just say one play, and they'll probably just take it into halftime with a 0-0 game is my guess.
Yep, they do have, it looks like not necessarily the victory formation, but the clock management team out there. They will take the knee. And I don't anticipate any other stoppages. So it looks like, for all intensive purposes, John, we will have a scoreless first half between two of the better offenses in the state of Illinois. At the halftime break, it's the Washington Panthers 0, the Kankakee Kays 0. And we'll be right back after a short break. You're watching WMBD, powered by Clutch Sports Media.
My favorite Italian feast, home of the best subs, pizza bread, grilled cheese, and Italian beef around.
The best pile high subs and hot sandwiches in Central Illinois. And no one has better homemade, always fresh from the oven bread. Michael's Italian Feast.
It's a supercharged selection in the heart of Chevy country. At Upstring in Washington, the gold bow ties are lined up, shined up, and ready to roll. Heavy-duty diesel days are full steam ahead with 30 HD diesel LTZs, hotter than a stick of dynamite. This week at Upstring Chevy in Washington.
Okay, so we're going to take a little tour of our Pantherplex. Super blessed to have this building. We had alums that were really responsible for it, but was the smallest place you could ever imagine over here. And now we have, this is our team locker room here. Everybody's set up where they have their own lockers. That's our 100th year sticker we came up for this season. It's multi-purpose. We have our training room inside that door right there. And then this is Kyle's work area out here as well. On the other side of that, we added a concession stand, so really set up the way we need it. We have our ice in here for injury ice, and then outside we have our ice tubs. I think we have enough lockers for 67 guys in here, so pretty spacious. Usually where we come halftime, unless it's burning hot, this is where we'll come in and sit down, and we use the whiteboard that's behind you there. We have our own laundry that's through those doors as well, that we can take care of everything there. So if you want, we'll walk upstairs. I'll show you our upstairs team room. So this is our team room. Within our team room, we use it a number of different ways. We'll do our team meals here on Thursday night most of the time. We'll come in and watch film Mondays and Thursdays. So we have our 3 screens that are up there. We have our computer is behind these doors here. And then we'll also rent this out on game nights Friday night, like for homecoming groups that are coming back, those type of things. So we've got the ability, I want to say we have like 13 tables we can set up in here to feed everybody. When you come out this way, we have our viewing deck, which is pretty great view. So Friday nights, again, we'll have people that rent the Plex out. Our players are up here till usually 5:30 before we start with our stuff downstairs, but really good view from up above. Plenty of tables for people that are out here, and like a really good shot to be able to see the field and watch a game. So it's a super inviting place for that. We just had a sophomore game the other night. Our varsity guys will either be on the sideline with them, or a lot of times they'll come up here after we get done with meetings and they'll have their food and watch the game from up above. So it's been a huge addition when we put it on. We were kind of like, do we need it or not? And a couple of our alums came up with this idea, so it's been really great. Our stuff inside, believe it or not, we're kind of like almost need more space. That's all our tech that we use Friday nights and game days. And then also like our drone is up here. So that's set up. We got everything right now pushed down. So we do have a pretty good sitting area over there too, where if you don't have all the tech stuff out, it's almost like a little love seat, couch, chairs where you can relax a little. Whiteboard that we use on our game days as well. We got our own, almost like kitchenette, where we got our fridge, and then we've got our microwave as well. And then we come down the hallway here. We'll see who's here today and who's not. So here you can see our coaches hard at work. So extra room we have here, we got storage, we got our jerseys, everything in here. We use this as a meeting room. Got 2 stations now in here that we can watch film, break down film, big whiteboard in here, and then our laminator and our copier, all that stuff is up here as well. So it's pretty self-sufficient. You don't need the other side of the campus with the school. And then my office is straight across. So out of my office, when they first built it, I was still living out by Lake Bloomington, so I traveled back and forth. So they really set it up well. I got my own bathroom and shower in there, so that works out great. And then just a really good view too. Like my dad, when he was alive, used to sit up here, watch games from here. Todd Stevens' father-in-law, now he'll sit up here a lot of times, watch games. Couch-wise, coaches will come in here, players are coming in here. We call it the couch of woe. So if you have to come in here sometimes, it is not the ideal place for you to go. But ton of like just history since I've been here of the things that, you know, players have given me, or the things our players have won for us, and just really nice setup in this room as well.
And welcome back to Babcock Field here in Washington, Illinois. I'm Jonathan Michael here on Clutch Sports Media. I'm joined by John Camosa, our halftime analyst here in the booth. John, obviously riding here tonight. You've been able to take in this game almost just as a spectator perspective. Overall, though, defensive battle. What have you seen mostly from both teams in the first half?
Yeah, John, kind of roaming the sidelines down there, and it has been a defensive slugfest back and forth. We've seen a lot of punts, a lot of penalties both ways, but really it's starting up front with that defensive line on both sides of the ball, not really allowing big drives. The furthest drive we saw was about 8 plays, and just before halftime there we saw Washington once again prevail on the defensive side, holding Kankakee scoreless right there to go into half.
Yeah, certainly, and you've been out on the sidelines, I believe, on Washington's sideline, if I'm not mistaken, so you're getting kind of a front row seat to Daryl Crouch's first home opener. What's his demeanor been like? I'm sure he's probably been pretty happy with his defense. Maybe not so much about the offense. I don't know. What's he been like down there on the sidelines?
Yeah, Daryl Crouch, obviously there's going to be a lot of energy in this game. Student section behind me, really loud, fired up. The seniors really into this game. Earlier in the year they said they wanted to send him out on a high note. This would be one of those marquee wins for Washington. But the energy, obviously a little bit frustrated maybe with some of the calls there. They think they might be getting away with some things. But overall, very happy with the defense, John. They've stepped up to the occasion and really made some big plays. We'll see how that translates in the second half.
And both these teams looking for a huge win. The number 4 Kankakee Kays and the number 7 Washington Panthers, a state-ranked matchup in Class 6A. Again, it's non-conference, but this game still has some implications. Obviously, when the playoffs kind of roll around, you get the whole playoff points thing and how many wins have your opponents had. We can almost be pretty sure that Kankakee and Washington are both going to have quite a bit of wins this year. For Washington, obviously we know them a little bit more, local team. What do you just overall expect from them as a team this year? What do you think their ceiling is?
Yeah, I think, going back to last week, John, a win over Canelan kind of edged it out there. It was really big for their momentum going into a game like this. And obviously, during that game, they didn't kind of know the outcome of their opponent this week. But Kankakee, that huge win over LaGrange Park Nazareth, last year's 5A state champion. So you don't want to ever overlook this game. Still has to be played in the second half. But should Washington pull out a win here, that's huge momentum going forth to Metamora at Metamora next week.
Certainly, and obviously, John, I know we've seen Kankakee before actually on Clutch Sports Media. We broadcasted their playoff loss against Peoria High in Class 5A last year, but this is at least my first time seeing them play in person. What stood out to you from Kankakee? Any players, any styles that they have? It's kind of what have you seen out of the Kays?
It's going to start on the defensive side of the ball since we haven't really seen much offense here except for a couple big plays that got them down to the goal line, but really on the defensive side of the ball, there is so much speed there. Every time Washington runs the ball, Kana McQuarrie tries to get to the outside. Tyler Humphrey, a quarterback, tries to kind of get up the middle. They've really kind of shut down everything. Washington kind of looking in the mirror like Kankakee. They've got down to about the 40, 30-yard line. They just can't quite punch it in because it's defensive both ways.
And that was a huge stop for Washington right before the half there. The overthrown ball there from Kankakee quarterback Lorenz Walters. But, John, we were talking during the break, during the Pantherplex tour by Daryl Crouch. Hope you all enjoyed that back at home. It was really cool to get to see that whole complex. We'll talk more about that in a bit. But, John, we were talking about that punting could really decide this game, and not really so punting, but if something goes wrong when a team punts.
Yeah, certainly, John. And, we've seen that both ways. Kankakee had a couple punts that got off, and Washington just right there almost blocked it. Same thing with Washington. They got a punt off, and Kankakee was ready to jump in on it. But also some of those big plays that could really give a team momentum. Both sides, we've seen Kankakee fumble the ball but then recover. We've seen Washington fumble the ball and quickly recover on top of it. So those are the little plays. If this is going to be a defensive battle like it was in the first half, you got to take advantage of those little miscues and get the turnovers.
Certainly, and to wrap things up here, Joko, what's maybe one thing in your mind for each team that they either got to do or is going to be a key for them in half number 2?
Yeah, I think right now with running the ball, it might take one of those big plays downfield. Maybe Kankakee on the Washington end, they're expecting run, maybe quarterback keep. Washington potentially airs the ball out, goes for something long. I know it's a tall task with some of those very quick secondary players at cornerback and safety, but maybe a little trick play in there to kind of shake things up, and I think Daryl Crouch knows that. For Kankakee, it's just continue to get that offensive line to block. We saw a big play here, but, maybe one more of those, and they can really spark something.
Should be a great second half. Both teams knotted at 0 with no really even close chance of scoring for both teams other than Kankakee right at the end. It's going to be exciting to see who draws first blood in the second half. Great performance there by Washington's high school band, one of the best in the area. We also want to take a quick moment right before their performance. They honored the moment of silence Logan Smith. Logan was a Washington high school student, a member of their drum line. Logan unfortunately and tragically passed away recently. It's been a big loss for this Washington community. Certainly an emotion-filled performance from Washington's band. They were great as always. We certainly want to obviously extend our deepest condolences to the family of Logan Smith and the Washington community. Such a great life that was taken so soon, but he is definitely being honored in every way possible for Washington this year. We'll take another quick break here on Clutch Sports Media. We'll come back with Cody Roskins. We'll look through some out-of-town scores. Come back, get the second half rolling right here on Clutch Sports Media.
Central Illinois, we're going to overtime. After 4 years of preps coverage in Central Illinois, Clutch Sports Media is ready for a new era. CSM Overtime.
What is CSM Overtime? We're going beyond the broadcast to give you in-depth coverage of your teams,
Your stories. Your stats and standings.
your highlights and action shots.
With your subscription, you'll get to see news and feature stories from all sports, up-to-date stats from around the area, and thoughtful analysis from our team of experts. As for our broadcast and social media coverage, it's only getting better.
With your support of Clutch Sports Media Overtime, we'll continue to grow our free broadcast coverage with more sports, more games, and more innovation.
And thanks to our partnership with Too Efficient Media, your social media feeds will be filled with Central Illinois' best sights and sounds.
CSM Overtime will also give you access to full galleries from some of the most talented photographers and videographers in our region.
As the new season approaches, it's time for more.
More action.
More stories.
More coverage of all Central Illinois sports. It's Clutch Sports Media Overtime.
At Bob Grimm Chevrolet in Morton, we're excited about the all-new tracks, and they're selling as fast as they arrive. Just listen to Lee.
I looked everywhere for my 2024 Chevy Trax. I'm from Indiana, and I drove right over to buy it. Such a smooth and simple process.
That's the Bob Grimm way.
The Fox has become known for some of the best British and American pub fare around. And for you craft beer lovers, we have 25 ever-changing draft handles. Whether it's lagers, IPAs, stouts, or ciders, the Fox has something for everyone. Join us at the Fox Pub in North Peoria.
When they drop them off, we put them in your driveway at Upton Weston Chevrolet because the models you've been waiting for are here today with our best offers of the year. Right now, get 1.9% financing on new Equinox, Trailblazer, Traverse, and Blazer at Upton Weston Chevrolet in Peoria. UptonWeston.com.
Mushanti Heating and Cooling specializes in commercial and residential heating and cooling services. We're a Tempstar dealer but service all makes and models with products that always provide you the best solutions.
Give your local experts a call at Mushanti Heating and Cooling.
Local 649 is looking for the next generation of apprentices. Between our commitment to safety and detail and state-of-the-art training facility, you will find more than just a career, but a family, creating legacies since 1896.
It's time to get out and about with the help of Academy of Screen Printing and Awards, outfitting you for special events, youth sports, business wear, and shirts for the workplace, and school events. Academy of Screen Printing and Awards has you covered. Let us help you today.
Welcome back to Washington, Illinois, home to tonight's WMBD Game of the Week, powered by Clutch Sports Media. It's 0-0 between the Kays and the Panthers. Jonathan, while this one has been it's 0-0 so far through this first one, but John, this is not the only game we are worried about. We've got a ton of out of town games that we are keeping our eye on. What in particular has really caught your eye? Obviously, there's some great games around the Middle Illini. There's also this game going on here, but Kankakee is also going to play some meaningful games that have scores otherwise that they should be concerned about.
Yeah, certainly. Well, we're looking around, scores around here, the local area. Eureka down 24-21 against Shelbyville. Great small school matchup. I picked Shelbyville to win there. That's a great team, but Eureka is keeping it close. El Paso Gridley also up big on Fieldcrest. Princeville, who we both picked to win over Havana, they're up 36-6. Getting down big to Cole City in the third quarter. One of the biggest games, I think, in the area, aside from this one, Bloomington Normal West. Normal West leads it 28-14. Got to give it a lot of credit to Bloomington for hanging in there. Purple Raiders are going to be a really good team this year, and a win against Normal West would go a long way. Elsewhere, Normal Community just blowing out Champaign Central, peaking down 20-0 against Belleville East. That's a significant Mid-Illini score. Dunlap up 21-0 against Rock Island. You can watch that game on ClutchSportsIL.com. Yes, we're providing a live free broadcast of that game as well. So if you're interested in catching the Eagles real quick, can head on over there. Other score that we got, it really is, for the most part, BCC also a big on Rantoul down in some Illini Prairie Conference action.
Again, those scores coming to you from across the state. And there's a lot of impact to be had early on here in the season, John. But again, we want to take this time to remind you this is a great opportunity before midnight to get over to Clutch Sports Overtime and mark down your subscription. Tonight and tonight only, we have a flash sale going on using code word CSM Week 2. That'll get you a discount off your first month of subscription. Again, it's a great service if you're a high school sports fan in really statewide across Illinois. We've got written content. We've got our weekly Football Insider Pick'ems, a plethora of content to behold there, John. It's really just a great service.
Certainly, and we're just getting started. You know, even we're still ironing out the kinks a little bit. We're gonna have lots of more stuff coming as the season goes along. Obviously, you know, these football teams all around the area, they're just kind of getting going. We're just getting going on CSM Overtime too. We have no signs of stopping. So get on over to clutchsportsil.com/overtime. And again, you can get 50% off your first month, but only until midnight tonight. Want to head on over there and see. We got news, feature stories, daily roundups across all sports, athlete of the week votes, pick'ems, photo galleries, some stats as well. So I really got it all over there on CSM Overtime. Really thrilled, really blessed to be offering that here this year on Clutch Sports Media.
Most certainly, John. But as both teams appear to be just about ready to go, again, it was the Panthers who won the opening coin toss, deferred to the second half, so they will be returning the second half kickoff. The Kays will be sending this one into the Washington night. And again, it's just been a beautiful night for football. Last week, incredibly hot. There were heat indexes of north of 120. Has not been the case this week, although it could ramp up again a little bit this upcoming week. We're enjoying it while we can.
Yeah, certainly. It almost kind of feels like a week 4 or week 5 game, kind of right in the middle of September. You know, college football starting as well. Really, at this point of the year, start of September, that's when it really becomes football season. Last week, it still felt like the middle of summer. Now, where it feels like fall, but not too much. It's still great weather out, great crowd again here in Washington, and they're all going to be stuck to their seats in the second half, waiting on edge. See who's going to pull away in this one. I know who the fans obviously all want here. They're just waiting to erupt for a big play, maybe a big run from Kenan McQuarrie, maybe a big blocked punt from their defense. Who knows? Should be a great second half of action.
If you're a fan of beat 'em up, drag 'em out defensive football, this is the place to be. 0-0 between two teams that put up more than their fair share of points back in week 1. Again, the Kays will send this one off. The Panthers are set to return. Neither team really threatened much to score, and of course they've got to flip sides of the field here, so referee's just sorting that last bit of field dressing out. John buys us a couple more seconds. Two quick things. What do you want to see out of both teams coming out of the second half?
Yeah, certainly, and for Washington, I mean, I think for both teams we can say that we want to see some more passes that are actually completed. I know there were some that were bounced off a guy's hands, but maybe some just quick short passes. And this goes back to what I like to do in Madden, I love the drag route. It's just where the receiver runs about 2-3 yards out, and then they kind of cut back in towards the center of the field, just in a straight line. Usually it's open for the most part. Obviously the linebacker core for both teams is very good, so you do have to watch for that. But obviously we're not going to really see, I don't think, many home run balls tonight. But I like to see some short passes, some guys making some plays. For Kankakee, I like to see them make a drive like they did, where they started at their own 5-yard line, put 8 plays together before it was extinguished. And for Washington, for them, I would like just to see them run the ball down to maybe about the 25-yard line, because then they can bring out the big leg of Devin Miller. A field goal could be huge.
Could be all that's needed tonight. Panthers on the return, and we're underway in half number 2. Good return for Washington, up near the 40. Before finally being drugged down, and that is where Humphrey and his offense will begin their attack here in half number 2.
Again, Humphrey, I don't believe, we don't have official stats in front of us, but again, still looking for his first completion. He had a touchdown rush last week. Maybe what I like to see about Washington too is maybe more options where Humphrey keeps the ball. Obviously, Kankakee is going to expect the handoff to McQuarrie a good majority of the time, but Humphrey could really make him play if he decides to keep it and maybe find some open space.
Play clock down at about 10 before the Panthers are set. McQuarrie is the deep back. Massive offensive line here on this play. Handoff is to McQuarrie, looking for contact. Picks up about 3.
That's just a big hard hit there by the Kankakee defender. Don't have made by number 5. Or 6, that was Zion Turner. He's been all over the field for our Kankakee tonight. Gotta think that one of our players of the game tonight may be on the defensive side, and Turner is certainly leading the charge there. Haven't really seen a ton out of the twins, or brothers, I should say. We don't know if they're twins at linebacker. Canarius and Kenyon Chandler.
This is a keep up the middle, still powering forward. McQuarrie able to go forward for big yardage. It looked like they initially faked the dive to the fullback, followed it up with the halfback, and that'll move the chains.
Faked the handoff there, and McQuarrie was out. It looked like in front of Humphrey blocking. That's just exactly what we talked about, what they wanted to see. Humphrey keeping the ball, switches it up a little bit. Obviously, Kankakee has options in their backfield. Washington needs to show off theirs because they can also hand off to Jace Harlan as well at the fullback.
It was Humphrey when it was all said and done, sticking with the eyes set here. 2 wide receivers, so a twin set to the left. Harlan is the fullback with McQuarrie the running back. Packed in defense here for the Kays. Backside handoff. McQuarrie with room to run. Takes one jab step into the turf. He's off to the races. Couple men to beat. He's inside the 10 and down at the 3. Massive play for the Panthers.
Easily the biggest play of the night. How about Cannon McQuarrie breaking at least 2, maybe even 3 tackles? Those late tackles from the Kays defenders were not enough to bring that big, strong running back down. And McQuarrie, again, just go for those little 4 or 5 yard gains all in the first quarter. It all paid off there. Finally got the big kahuna, and now Washington is in prime real estate.
Massive run for Washington. They're looking to punch it in. Once again, heavy set eye, handoff McQuarrie. He's up the middle to the goal line.
No signal yet.
Just short. Inside, looks like the 1.
And Washington can smell it.
We went 2 full quarters without a score. Looks like McQuarrie's helmet may have came off. He'll have to come out for a play.
That's a tough scene for Washington. It looks like Jacob Walker, the senior running back, comes in, so maybe he gets the call here on 2nd and goal.
Again, they're just about a yard away here. Play clock down to about 15. Still waiting for the play to be relayed in. Tight set here. Look for Humphrey to sneak it himself. He will, and there is a flag immediately flying. And this will most likely be against the Panthers, as our near side linesman will head across the field for a quick chat to make sure he has the appropriate cause for penalty.
And this is where you can't afford a penalty if you're Washington. You get down to about the 1 inch line, and then you have a false start. So they were so close. They could smell the cookies from outside, and the door just closed on them right before they could get in the house.
So we'll see if they can kick the door down of said house from about the 2nd and goal from just outside the 5. Some more personnel shuffling in and out. Bryson Barth becomes the wide receiver on the far side. Toss play. McQuarrie looking for the edge. Jump cut inside the 5 will bring up 3rd and goal and about 3 to go.
Yeah, tried to split the defenders, Keandre White and Canarius Chandler there. Big 3rd down here for Washington. Again, they're well into field goal territory, but you really want the 6th, especially if you're so close. Kankakee, just a couple minutes to go, is in that same position. Could not convert. I think Washington is going to be a great chance they run the ball here, but you never know. Maybe they try and surprise them. That would be quite the gamble.
Barth will stay in as the wide receiver. McQuarrie is the running back. Humphrey, handoff. Chase Harlan trying to push that pile forward. I think the Kays stood him up.
What a stop by the Kankakee front line. Faulkner, Washington, Sutton. It's going to be 4th and goal. This is the biggest decision of the game for Darryl Crouch. I'm sure he didn't want to have to sweat so much in his first home opener, but it looks like they're going to go for the field goal here.
So as Jace Harlan couldn't get it into the end zone, this will send out the kick unit, and Devin Miller will try and put the Panthers up 3-0 and open the scoring. Again, not a gimme field goal, albeit be close. These shorter kicks can sometimes be harder, easier to block. Snap hold, kick is good. And the Panthers open the scoring. It's 3-0. And it was a great drive, Jonathan, and a lot to do on the ground. But again, a scoring drive brought to you by the Uftring Auto Group. What's kind of your drive recap?
Yeah, I mean, it's really that big run there by McQuarrie from about the 45 down to the 5 or so. That was really to set it all up. And again, that false start really hurt them a lot. But, I mean, Washington's got to be pretty happy about that. But also at the same time, they might feel a little disappointed. They were inside the 1 yard line and didn't come away with a score. As we get our Uftring scoring drive there, I want to thank the Uftring Auto Group for their support of tonight's broadcast. I'm sure they were probably waiting for the first score of the game tonight. It wasn't a touchdown, but we'll give them it for the field goal, and could be the only score tonight. Who knows?
Could be all that's needed. Again, the Devin Miller field goal attempt from chip shot range is enough to put the Panthers on the front foot. 3-0 in favor of the home-sided Washington Panthers, as the Kankakee Kays will get their first crack on offense here in half number 2 following this kickoff. As Miller sends it away. Deep kickoff, contested airspace will be returned. Cutting upfield, massive opportunity for the Kays. Busting free. Phillips, he's just got a few more to beat, and they won't catch him. Touchdown, Kankakee.
My word, Tony Phillips, the running back, the senior for the Kays. You knew that Kankakee, when you got them in the open field, they'd be so hard to bring down. And Washington, that's only the second time they've kicked off tonight. Probably a pretty scary situation for them because they knew they were going to have some scary guys returning for the Kays, and they got burned. Great blocks by the Kays special teamers. Just like that, we got 2 scores back-to-back, Cody.
Phillips takes it 97 yards officially for the Kays. And just like that, they didn't trail for very long, not even time really coming off the clock. Just one play, and it wasn't even from scrimmage.
15 seconds was all.
Kays will line up for the following point after. And now another penalty will fly. And this will be against the Kays, so.
Now that makes this extra point not quite as much guaranteed. This is a big one because if Washington has to drive just like they had, the field goal, that could tie it up rather than be down 1.
And that infraction is against the Kays, so back them up. PAT will essentially be spotted at about the 15, add 10 more yards on, so roughly a 25-yard PAT. Here's the snap, hold, kick is on the way, and it is good. So 7-3 now stands the scoring as the Kays didn't waste much time in getting on the board following the Washington field goal.
Yeah, but what a return there from Tony Phillips. He scored 2 touchdowns last week, ran for 209 yards on 22 carries. So he's already got 3 touchdowns on the young season. One of the state's top uncommitted seniors. Plays like that will certainly help in his recruiting trail. Can show that he can return kicks, but more so helps the number 4 Kays get back on top of the 7th-ranked Washington Panthers. Now Washington, for the first time tonight, has to respond. Unless they can return another kick of their own, they got to do so with an actual drive.
Kays will line up to kick it off. Last time, Panthers were able to get it close to the 40 before their ground game carried them down inside the 5, and the Kays defense stood them up. And that's pretty much how we got to this point. Field goal and immediate kick return for a touchdown. After no points in the first half, we've had 10 here in the last 2 plays.
And plays from scrimmage tonight haven't been working quite as good, at least in terms of scoring for both teams, but these kicks and these punts, I think a lot of this game is going to be decided on that. May have just been there.
It's a low liner, and whistles will blow again. This could be offsides on the kicking team.
Certainly don't see that too often.
Or is one of the gunners beyond the 40 before the ball was kicked? That'll be the question, and it is against the Kays.
It's the consequences of being too fast, Cody. This Kays team has lots and lots and lots of speed, but just kind of got a little bit too eager there. Came back to hurt them, but that will help the Panthers, who got great field position last time at Kankakee Kays, or at their own 41, I should say.
So ball will now be kicked off from their own 35. This will give Washington a good chance to return it to at least the 35. Low liner, not much height or distance on that one, and they have to field it inbounds. Now Washington caught in no man's land at the 20.
There's a late flag. Maybe a tiny bit of an acting job. I don't know if he was trying to sell it or if he lost his balance, but it looked like that was Mason Burke, potentially the backup quarterback for Washington. We're going to see if this call stands. They might get him for a late hit, but I was confused on why he picked up that ball in the first place. It looked like it may go out of bounds. Obviously, you don't want to run the risk of Kankakee picking that ball up and being well into Washington territory. I don't know. We'll see what happens here. Looks like that is going to be a late hit. It's going to tack on 15 yards.
So after the return to the 21-yard line, they move it all the way to the 36. And this is where Humphrey in this ground attack, which was very effective last time out, will set up shop. And it is McQuarrie to dot the I. Two wide receivers, pro formation here for the Panthers. Handoff is up the middle. Instead, it's a pitch outside to McQuarrie. Ooh, looks like they may have fooled me up here in the booth. I saw Humphrey kind of shovel his wrist forward, and instead he's down at the line of scrimmage.
And they tried to do those really quick runs with that tight pro formation, as you mentioned, Cody. We talked to Darryl Crouch, and when we were doing those starting lineups, those Bob Grimm Chevrolet starting lineups, he said that you send the pro formation guys out there. So we've seen it a lot tonight for Washington, and for the most part, Kankakee has been right there to stuff it. Again, despite being a little bit undersized compared to Washington's offensive line, they've been right there every time. The linebackers have been packing in.
So 2nd and 10 is a handoff to McQuarrie, and he is tracked down in the backfield. The Kays smother it out. It'll be 3rd down and long upcoming for the Panthers.
And it looked like that was Michael Washington and Kenyon Chandler were 2 of the 3 Ks. And on the south, they've both had great games. Washington had a sack earlier that was wiped out by a penalty. Kenyon Chandler, though, has got a nose for the ball every time opposition hands it off or throws. He just knows where it is. Had 2 tackles for loss last week and picked up another one there.
Working out of the shotgun. Humphrey dropping back to throw all day. He'll step up in the pocket, avoids pressure, and will just eat it for a sack. About a loss of 5, maybe 4. Now the punt team will have to come out for the Panthers.
And overall, I got to be honest, I'm not too impressed with that drive there for Washington. Those 3 plays. That run was stuffed there on 1st down and just nothing doing on 2nd and 3rd. Humphrey looking a little hesitant out there when he's outside the pocket. Offensive line's got to do a bit better job protecting him, but it's a little bit easier said than done.
And here comes the punt. Again, this one not as good. Does take a Panther bounce across the 50. Right at the 50 is where they will mark it. So easy-going drive here for the Kays upcoming. This will be a great time to bring up our tail of the tape coming into tonight. Again, a lot of storylines for this matchup, John, but these 2 teams have been very even early.
Yeah, and you look at their points per game from last year. Obviously, with 1 game in, it's tough to really give them a points per game average this year. But last year, Kankakee scored 34 a game. We talked about their defense allowing less than 10 per game. They're on pace to do that tonight. Washington put 26 per game, allowing 21. So
that quick handoff up the middle to Hill. Gets them about half of what they needed on 1st down. Call it 6 yards. He has been the workhorse running back tonight for the Kays. He's exploded for a couple. Hasn't brought one into the end zone yet. Again, game's lone touchdown. Coming by way of a Phillips 97-yard kickoff return. Another handoff to Hill, and he is just swallowed up at the line of scrimmage.
And I believe that was either Noah Bell or Robert Martin that just tracked him down, crashed in his direction right away. Great play call there from Washington's defensive coordinator, Todd Stevens, who is set to be Washington's next head coach next year. They already have Daryl Crouch's replacement all lined up. Todd Stevens knows the program well and should hopefully again lead the Panthers to good fortune starting in 2024.
Big third down coming up for the Kays. Can they keep their momentum going? It's a handoff up the middle, dragging Panthers. He'll get about half of what he needed. It'll be fourth down and maybe a long 2. Again, that was the star on the kick return in Phillips, but again, John, 4th and 2.
Just over 2 yards, Jace Harlan bringing him down again. We saw it when Washington's linebackers got off to a terrorizing start in this game. Harlan and the 2 Elis, Bear and Pappas. Since then, they've been a little bit more quiet, but Harlan made a huge tackle there. He's got to have it probably I'd estimate at least 5 or so tonight.
So with the lead and not too terribly deep inside enemy territory, this will be a punt from the Kays.
That's a wobbler.
This one will take a good roll, though. Skip out at about the 13, and Panthers will be pinned deep. Great job by the Kankakee punt team to push them back.
Well, Cody, I say this about my golf swing a lot when I play with everybody. I'm saying it's not pretty, but it works. And it certainly did there for Kankakee. Pinned him inside the 20, so 87-yard field for the Panthers. They, aside from that 59-yard drive, haven't had anything close to an 87-yard drive tonight. But, again, I just think you got to keep on feeding McQuarrie and kind of hope that he makes a big play, and you got to figure that eventually some holes will open up for him behind this great and experienced offensive line.
Humphrey will line up under center. It's a play-action pass. Humphrey has a man open on the bootleg, and it's in and out of the hands of number 80, Garrett Cox, the tight end, who also splits time at linebacker. But that was nearly a sack, and it turned into nearly a big gain for the Panthers.
That would have been huge for Washington, not only just on the field with the gains of yards there, but just for the confidence of the Panthers completing a pass. Again, I still don't think we've seen a completed pass yet for the Panthers, but Garrett Cox, again, is a very versatile player for the Panthers at tight end. He can kick a little bit, but Devin Millers took over his job there. Plays D-end as well. Could have been a big gain on that nice crossing route. I'd like to see Washington go back to a similar play eventually before the game's over.
No running back, just a fullback here as it's a keep. Humphrey is swallowed up. That play worked earlier in the contest, but it'll be about a half-yard loss, so third down and a borderline 11.
I think for Washington, you got to keep on trying to get creative with the playbook here and run up the gut with just a fullback in the backfield. You kind of know if you're Kankakee what's going to be coming. Their defensive tackles were ready to stuff that one. That first play, though, that rollout to Cox, I don't think they really were expecting that one. So McQuarrie not on the – there he is. Thought he was not on the field, but he'll be split out wide. Crouch said he can play a bit of slot receiver, so we'll see if maybe the Humphrey looks his way. Number 2 in black on the far slot.
Almost caught a wheel route earlier. Let's see if they go to him here. It's a sprint out pass. Under pressure, fires towards the marker, and it's incomplete. Took one hop off the turf. The Panthers punt team will have to come out and try and flip the field.
Again, I like that play call a lot more. A little rollout pass. Breathing down his neck, though. Zion Turner, we've called his name a ton tonight. Both in the secondary, came in there off the cornerback blitz. Almost had Humphrey. That would have been disastrous for Washington, but they have to punt it from deep in their own territory. All the momentum, I think, is favoring Kankakee right now. Got to be careful in this return if you're Washington. Got to make a tackle.
Punt gets away. No flag with the contact to the punter, and the return coming down from Keandre White. White up the field. White continues to gash off yards just shy of the 30. And so Walters and his offense will see if they can kick it into gear and find their team's first offensive touchdown of the night.
And Kanan McQuarrie and Garrett Cox, they both, at the end of the play, they're both laid on the field and just looks of despair, looking up like, man, we should have had him. Would have been a big tackle, but trying to line up a K in open field. Good luck with that.
So much speed on this Kays offense. They've just got a number of ways to hurt you, but so far the Panthers have navigated it well. Just a lone special teams blunder has bit him so far. It's a handoff to Hill, and he gets stood up on the line of scrimmage.
And really, despite, Washington being down in this game and kind of losing the momentum battle at the moment, you got to really credit them for playing some great defense on Kankakee. Again, held a team that regularly puts up 30, 40 points. They just got 7 as we near the end of the third quarter. So, and the defense is doing their job. Some substitutions come in. It's big number 75, Eric Doherty.
And we'll have a timeout charged to the Panthers. This timeout brought to you by the Fox Pub in Peoria. Late men coming off the field and on the field for the defense. So Darryl Crouch wants to buy his defense some time to get the right personnel in.
And this is a good call. I think that this is a really important drive for Kankakee. Again, the short field starting at the 32, and you're up 7-3 already. I don't know. Again, if field goals are really in the question for the Kays at all, like Peoria High, for example, they never kick field goals. Not sure if Kankakee is the same way or not, but they score one more. 14-3 doesn't seem like a big deficit, but in this game, points have come at a premium, and with 15 minutes left to go, a 2-possession lead would be massive for the visitors from East Illinois.
So 2nd down and 10 coming up for the Kays. Hill will be the lone running back in the backfield, 4 wide receivers. Try and spread out this very strong Panther defense. Walters drops back to throw, slings one over the middle, and it's caught, hauled in, and that'll be White moving it upfield for a 1st down.
That's a nice play there. Another slant route to White on Kankakee, and Dre Lewis was in coverage there for the Panthers. Again, you have to respect the speed of the Kays, so you don't want to play up on him too much. Lewis has gave him a little bit of a cushion, but wide open catch there.
Handoff is up the middle. No, it's a keep by Walters, continuing to do his best Lamar Jackson impersonation in the backfield. He is swallowed up at the line.
He's a really tough guy to bring down. Lorenz Walters, 175 is what he tips the scales at, but I feel like probably a lot more leaner, has a lot more muscle, probably feels like he's a lot more than 175 when you're trying to bring him down.
So 2nd down and 11 coming up for the Kays. Again, we have not seen them put it in the air much tonight. Everything that we've seen the lone deep shot earlier in the contest, but everything else has been pretty short. It's a jet sweep handoff, room to work along that far side, cutting it upfield as flags fly. That was to their playmaker, Phillips. And this play will probably be coming back, and it will.
Yep, usually when the flag flies right when there's a snap, it is on the offense. It will be this time. So, again, Washington being the beneficiaries of Kankakee shooting themselves in the foot as the third quarter winds down. Can't stress enough how important this drive is. Washington's got to feel really great if they get off the field with a stop, but at the same time, they force a turnover on downs, they'll be in their own territory, so a turnover like an interception would be huge. Panthers can pull one off.
4 wide receivers in the game for Walters. A lot of over the middle routes. Walters will step up, and now he'll try and run. Getting to the edge is Walters trying to hunt out that end zone. Takes a quick hop step out of bounds. Is finally corralled inside the 10. And the officials will talk about it.
Tony Phillips had a great block downfield for Kankakee. And he looked like he was pleading with the refs, so this may be on the Kays, but we're not quite sure.
And they'll pick up the penalty. I think the Panthers had a thought in their mind that they had a real shot to be against the Kays. So with just a shade over 6 seconds to go here in this third quarter, it has been fast moving tonight. 2 defenses that have really had a grip on this game. We're still searching for the game's first offensive touchdown, and it's 3rd down and about a yard. And that will mark the end of the third quarter. We've got a good one brewing in Washington as the 4s go up in the air. We'll be right back after a short break. You're watching WMBD, powered by Clutch Sports Media.
Protected Illinois citizens for over 40 years with regard to dangerous drugs and has taken on the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world, and have won cases for Illinois residents.
Jay Jansen. One name says it all.
Welcome back to Washington, Illinois, home to tonight's WMBD Game of the Week, powered by Clutch Sports Media. It's 7-3, led by the visitors of Kankakee. Their lone touchdown coming on a 97-yard kickoff return following a Washington field goal, John. So outside of those 30 seconds of action, this game has really just been punch, punch, counter punch, and not much in between.
No, yeah, Tony Phillips had the biggest punch of the game so far. Will it be the knockout one? Well, we don't know yet. Still 12 minutes left to play. I got a funny feeling that somebody is going to score here in this second half, in this fourth quarter, I should say now, and either put the game away or take the lead. I feel like both teams have been knocking on the door. We've had 3 quarters to see, kind of evaluate your opponent. This is really where head coaching comes in big. I think Washington's got a slight advantage with Crouch in his 19th year.
Jet sweep handoff on third down and a yard. It'll be more than a yard. It'll be 6. Phillips finds the end zone for the second time tonight.
And that was just a real quick speed play out to the outside.
And this play will be coming back. A penalty against the Kays, it looks like, will take this touchdown off the board. Kays can't believe it. It's the third time they've run that package, John, and they've gotten penalized for it.
You gotta hate that if you're a Kankakee Kays fan watching at home. I mean, he was in there untouched. Nobody was really around. Great blocking downfield, especially by the wide receivers.
Mark that play down in red as this game winds on. A touchdown taken off the board due to an offensive infraction. And the Kays offense will take one more shot here. The first down marker lies just inside the 10 here on third down in a elongated 10. Pass is behind his intended target, and now there may be a penalty against the Panthers for defensive PI.
And there's a physical play there on the football. Looked like that was Tyler Brown, the senior in coverage there. And quick aggressive coverage. That ball that Walters threw was behind his receiver, so wouldn't have been catchable, but man, it's such short time to react if you're Brown. You know, can't fault him.
It's against the Kays.
OPI.
It's an eligible man downfield. We initially thought, because that came from the back judge,
it did,
who's watching the defensive secondary and was looking right at that play, that could have been on the Panthers. But instead, this third down becomes a fourth down as the Panthers decline the penalty. Now, do the Kays line up for the field goal, or are they going to roll the dice?
And it looks like Walter's still on the field again. He's been their punter. I wouldn't imagine he'd kick a field goal, and we wouldn't know if they were going to kick. Scoreboard still says third down.
So it looks like we will replay third down.
Yep.
They said they declined the penalty, but either way, it's third down and 10. Walters drops back to throw. Wants to go down the sideline. Got a man down there, and it's incomplete. Couldn't keep it to the ground as Keandre White nearly put the ball game in very high jeopardy for the Panthers.
Oh, my word, Cody. Again, deja vu from the first quarter where just seemingly nobody can hang on to the football. That one touched his fingertips. Would have been a highlight reel grab. Would have seen that all over social media if he could have hung on. Oh, so close for Kankakee, and they have got to be really frustrated right now. You got to stay within yourself at this point. You can't get too down on yourselves. You have one more chance to try and get 10 yards. You don't need the end zone here. So they're going to go for the field goal.
So the Kays will line up for the field goal. We weren't given an 88 on our roster, but instead the Kays line it up. And it hits off the upright!
Doink! Oh, my. That's the first time I've seen that in a high school game, Cody. You see it a lot in the NFL, but it looked good from our angle, and it goes bong off the crossbar. And that sigh of relief was just a wave across this home sideline for Washington. My word, the Panthers dodge a bullet.
Cross that off the bingo card. We have a kick return for a touchdown. We've got a field goal off the upright. We've got penalties galore. It is absolute pandemonium at times here in Washington as the Panther offense will try and bring some stability to this ball game here through the last, call it 15 minutes or so.
And that's a brutal turn for Kankakee, especially if it ends up costing them the game.
Handoff is to McQuarrie up the gut. Not a lot doing. You got to give a lot of credit to the Kays, John. You've mentioned their size on the line. They have controlled the line of scrimmage here so far in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and, it comes against a Washington offensive line. It has a couple of returning starters in Jackson Stewart, Cash Wisher, Daryl Crouch. Before the season, he said that our O-line, we need them to be better than good, like one of the best in the area is what he said. And they've been good tonight against the Kankakee front, but I wouldn't say yet they've been better than good. If they can really dig deep and just start winning some battles at the line, pave the way for McQuarrie. Once you get him an open field, he's about as dangerous as anybody.
It'll be 2nd down and 8. 3 wide receivers in the game for the Panthers. Jace Harlan is the running back. Quarterback kept by Humphrey. Not a lot of room to operate. Right about the line of scrimmage. So it'll be 3rd down and 8 to go.
And Michael Washington, number 44 in white, who made that tackle, he's been keying the defensive line all night long. Been their best performer, at least in my opinion. Matched up against the sophomore right tackle, Josh Hofer. Henry Warwick, the all-conference tackle for Washington, not in the starting lineup. I believe he's dealing with some wrist issues. So he's not playing tonight, and they're throwing the sophomore in there, and Washington's making him pay.
So 4 wide receivers. We'll motion McQuarrie out of the backfield. They fake it to him. Humphrey trying to escape, but there is no escape. The Kays corral him in the backfield. It'll be 4th down and about 15 coming up.
You got a punt here if you're Washington. Again, another 3-and-out forced by the Kays. I didn't mind that play call there. You saw him look McQuarrie's way at first, looked the other way, had lots of open field, but the right side of the left side of the Kays defensive line crashed in. Humphrey, again, just looking a little too hesitant in the pocket. As Washington will have to punt it away again.
Keandre White back deep to return, just the one return man. It'll take a Panther bounce, and not much more than that as it crosses the 50 and is downed at the 40, call it 7-yard line. So it'll be 1st down and 10 for the Kays, John. A field goal off the left upright last time out. This offense will be searching for more than that this possession.
And it certainly will be. And again, Washington looking for their first win in this little 3-year series Kankakee and Washington have going on so far. Look at both the previous matchups. In 2021, Kankakee won by 2 scores. They went on to be the state runner-up that year. That game was played here at Washington. Tamil Staples threw for 151 yards. Then last year, Kankakee blew out Washington 42-0 in Kankakee. Lorenz Walters had a huge game with 257 pass yards and 3 touchdowns. Washington's done a much better job of containing him tonight.
Not much blocking up front for Hill. It was an eroding front, and the Panthers pounce on him in the backfield. Loss of about 2.
And there's a Panther.
Downed Panther on the field, and he'll tend to the young man. But, John, not much blocking up front. It's been a constant so far tonight. Both teams' defensive lines have been very strong.
And we talked about Kankakee's defensive line. Washington's D-line is also great as well. They got 2 juniors in Carter Prina and Noah Bell. Bell came in this week being a little banged up. Daryl Crouch told us on it Wednesday when we were out here in Washington, but he's played a good game, as has Prina on the edge. And they got the senior Robert Martin IV, the biggest presence on their defensive line. He's been in on a couple tackles. Then Garrett Cox, who we mentioned, the versatile defensive end. Again, not a huge line on defense for Washington either, aside from Martin. They've performed well, despite having a Georgia commit, Marquise Easley, line up for them right across at left tackle.
A 2nd down throw will be hauled in on the far side by Keandre White. And it'll be about 4 yards short of a 1st down. So again, 3rd down and about 4. And so far the theme in this situation has been tonight that a penalty has normally stopped the Kays in their tracks.
Yeah, Kankakee again. Usually these penalties have come in their own territory as well.
So it'll be 4 wide receivers. Phillips is the running back to the left of Walters. It is a handoff to Walters. He's going to try and find his way forward. Penalty markers fly. And this will be holding against the Kays. So just as we hit on it, they didn't convert the first down or third down, but another penalty does come out. We'll see if Darryl Crouch likes to take the yardage or the down.
I'd almost consider accepting it rather than putting it on fourth down. I trust your defense because fourth and short, you got to figure Kankakee might go for it. Either that or at the least punt it away and pin Washington deeper in their own territory.
That's the difference between starting at your own 15 versus your own 25. It's a big factor, especially late in these ball games. You've only got a shade over 8 minutes left, and both offenses have struggled is the polite way to put it. It'll be 4 wide receivers again for Walters out of the shotgun. Trying to convert on third and long. Panthers only bring 3. Stepping up in the pocket. Quarterback spies aren't there. Walters escapes. It's a lot of running room for Walters across the 30 and dancing out at the 25. What a scamper.
29 yards for the Kays quarterback, and he had some danger right at first, but once he got past the first level, wide open second level there, Washington, all their guys were looking downfield and didn't really keep an eye on Walters, the always dangerous dual threat quarterback, and now Kays will get afforded a new set of downs. Can they finish it off, though? That's the main question.
We've seen him fail on fourth down inside the 5. We've seen him doink a field goal off the upright. Anything is possible here in this game so far. Timeout charged to the Panthers. And that's another time for us to give a shout out to one of our gracious sponsors, the Fox Pub in Peoria, for this timeout. And it's a quick moment for us to grab our breath as well.
Yeah, certainly, Cody. And the Kays have been hurrying up a little bit more. Washington, as we expected, more methodical tonight, but been a good pace to this game. Neither team trying to outrun one another at least as much as last week when we had Rochester and Peoria High. Boy, we could barely catch our breath between the Rockets and the Lions. Those are two teams that love to go fast. And these teams like to go fast as well, at least Kankakee does, but they haven't been able to go fast for prolonged periods because Washington's defense has stopped them on every drive, at least from scrimmage. Again, the only touchdown coming on that Tony Phillips kick return, 97 yards right after that field goal from Washington's Devin Miller.
So the Kays will come back out on offense. First down and 10 at the 26-yard line. The 3 wide receivers into the far boundary. Solo wide receiver to the left. Again, no blocking up front. A absolute shredding of the offensive line by the Panthers. Big number 65 was getting in the backfield. That was Robert Martin.
Yeah, there's Robert Martin. We just mentioned him. That's the biggest play he's made so far tonight. And we said, Cody, you don't want to compound a bad play with another bad play. Washington didn't do that there. They rebounded, responded. That's a big TFL there for the big senior.
Kays content, spreading it out under pressure. Huge sack for the Panthers defensive line.
And Cox came flying in there. He's had a bit of a tough night, been matched up against Marquise Easley on the left side of the line. There he moves over to the right side and beats the Kankakee tackle, sacks Walters in the backfield. So now you got 2 great plays in a row. Can they make it 3? That would put the Kays in a really tough position. I don't think they'd be in field goal range, but you never know.
3rd and 15, and again, it's just once they get near the 20, the Panthers' defense has been unyielding so far. And now the Kays will take a Fox Pub in Peoria timeout as they want to chat about this upcoming 3rd down situation. John, it's kind of echoing the point you just had. Do you play for the field goal even though you just watched your young place kicker doink one off the upright, or do you play for the 2 downs and try and get half of what you need?
That's a great question, Cody. I mean, from this spot, if they try and pass it, if it's incomplete, you're looking at a 48-yard field goal. And not sure what Kankakee's kicker's leg is like. It looked pretty good. But at 48 yards, especially in high school, you got to have a heck of a leg to try and get that. I don't know. I mean, I would say I'm almost just trying to pick up a little bit, maybe get a bit closer, maybe down to the 25, the 20 or so. Then you're a more easier position for a field goal. And if you want to go for it on 4th down, you can as well. So even a 9, 10, 11-yard gain for the Kays would be great here.
So it'll be 4 wide receivers for Walters in the shotgun. 3rd and 15, need a lot. Going over the middle, passes caught, wrapped up in front of the sticks right at the 20, call it maybe the 19, a favorable spot. They almost give him the 17. They needed to get to about that.
Cedric Terrell looked like. Cedric Terrell the third, I should say, on the catch there. First time we've called his name tonight, and like we said, they got that about 11, 12-yard gain. Yeah, generous spot. He was at the 20 when he caught it. Spotted at this out the 17 and a half, but they'll say the 17. So a really generous spot there given to the Kays. They're going for it here on 4th and short.
They take out the bruiser back in Hill. They put in Phillips, 4 wide receivers. This is a big play. Walters going outside, and it's incomplete, in and out of the hands of Cedric Terrell III. And it's going to be a turnover on downs, and the Panthers again come up big defensively.
And for Washington, you look at the clock now, 6:02. I don't know how many more chances you'll get. This could be the last one. You never know. But back to that play. I'm not sure if I would have picked that play call there. You got your big guy, Tony Phillips, in the backfield. He's responsible for your touchdown for Kankakee. Your only one of the night. He's been running well all game and figured he could maybe grab 2 there. The passing attack, again, hasn't quite been there for Kankakee. I admire them for rolling the dice, but deep in Washington territory, they give it back to him.
Again, in this 4th quarter, they had a touchdown taken off a board and a field goal doinked off the upright. Kays leaving 10 points on the board here in the 4th quarter. Humphrey fires to the second level, and it's complete across the 30. One of the few times we've seen a completed pass tonight from the Panther offense.
And again, like we said, that may have been the first to Tyler Brown. Humphrey looks pretty comfortable when he's rolling out. Most of the time, he's just being chased by a K. There, he had enough space to make the grab. So again, if Humphrey can get enough space on his rollouts to either try to tuck it down and keep it or find a guy, I think that could be huge for Washington on this drive as they got to, have a little more emphasis on this one.
Tyler Brown, the responsible target for hauling that one in. It's 1st down and 10 for the Panthers. And in motion now, trips to the left, sprint out pass, quickly into the flats, 2 lead blockers. Different look, gain of about 5, and it'll bring up 2nd down and manageable.
And another good play call there for Washington. Again, that's a look we haven't really seen so far, a little sprint out pass, putting Barth in motion. So at this point of the game, you're kind of digging deep in your playbook, kind of, picking plays that haven't been called before. I like what I see from Daryl Crouch. Again, Miles Osei, the former Illini on the other sideline for Kankakee, looking for a big 2nd win in a row in his 1st year as the Kays head coach.
We'll go 4 wide receivers on 2nd and 5. It's a quarterback blast for Humphrey. He gains about half of what he needed, so it'll be 3rd down in either a long 2 or short 3, however you want to call it up.
Quarterback keeper on the play by number 9.
Given go ahead, John, but I would assume this would be 2-down territory with time as low as it is. You would want to give your offense as many chances as possible.
And how good your defense is playing as well. If you do decide to punt it, you could try and play the field position game as well, because if they force Kankakee into a 3 and out, then you're still looking at about a 70-80-yard drive needed to win the game.
It'll be 3 wide receivers to the right. Another quarterback blast, trying to get to that 2nd level, but the Kays are all over it. It'll be about a yard to go, and now a real decision time for head coach Daryl Crouch.
Yeah, this is going to be a real tough decision. Crouch is probably his, the angel and the devil on his back. I don't know who's saying what.
It's probably saying give the ball to
Kanan McQuarrie.
But we haven't seen him much this drive, but he's trotting back out onto the field here. You would assume this would be, old-fashioned Panther football for head coach Daryl Crouch. Find a gap or where the defensive tackles aren't aligned and see if your offensive line can't get you the 8 inches you needed. I mean, it is just splitting hairs down that down marker and the 1st down marker.
I watch Washington, number 44 on the right. He's on the near side. Will he go left?
Hand off to McQuarrie. It'll be close. Did the 2nd effort get him there?
The line just coming in. Looks favorable. I think they got it on that 2nd effort.
Kays initially said no, but from that spot, you would think it would be a 1st down and good enough to move the chains.
They may bring the chain gang out. They don't need to. 1st down.
So McQuarrie able to keep those legs moving like he's churning butter and find a way to eke out that first down. And with just over 3 minutes to go, it is crunch time.
As a
here
senior,
in Washington.
As a senior, McQuarrie that knows how much this game means, even though it's non-conference. Washington last year, they started the year 0-2. They got blown out in their first 2 games of the year, including against Kankakee. Now they have a chance to completely flip that script, go 2-0 against 2 strong opponents, head to the Mid-Illini Conference where, again, they're favored. What are the Panthers made of against one of the state's best? We're going to see here in the next 180 seconds.
Draw play to McQuarrie. He's got room to operate. McQuarrie, he is a highlight reel at times. He makes the simple stuff look fantastic. It'll be a gain of about 6 on the draw.
Tyrone Kennedy making a big tackle there for the Kays because McQuarrie may have been gone if he escaped him. Haven't mentioned Kennedy too much, a key part of the Kays secondary. He transferred in from Bradley Bourbonnais last year, had a pick last week. One of the main returners on this secondary, but they're also playing more linebacker, making a big tackle.
No running back, just Harlan as the fullback on on second down and about 3. And it's a handoff to Harlan, and he didn't gain much, maybe about a yard.
Yeah, it's been tough sledding for Harlan, especially in those sole fullback sets. I don't even know what you would call that. Don't see that too often. So it's 3rd and short here again for Washington. Again, time ticking down. You got only 1 timeout left. You got to have a big play. You can't just keep having these 4 or 5 yard gainers. You got to have a big one sooner or later.
McQuarrie re-enters. This has typically been that toss play. And here it is. Again, another toss. Keys get to the edge and track him down well in the backfield. Loss of about 2. Huge play for Kankakee defensively. It'll bring up 4th down and about 5. And now you take the question of, can you run the ball with just about 90 seconds left? And this will be the last charge timeout to the Panthers. And again, this timeout brought to you by the Fox Pub in Peoria. And John, big play upcoming. Probably the ball game.
I was going to say, this is probably the ball game now with Washington. They can't stop the clock anymore. 4th down, and Kankakee could just kneel it out. So the entire game pretty much hinges on this play. It's 4th and 4 from the 46. They need to get the 50. Don't know what you do here if you're Washington. You're kind of in that in-between range. Obviously, your running backs are your strong suit. Humphrey could also keep it as well. Harlan's had a tough day at fullback. Maybe you surprise him. Maybe give it to him. Passing would be quite the play. Haven't seen much of it. Humphrey, usually when he has, he's rolled out. And again, rolling out against his Kays defense, his linebacking core led by Canarius, Kenyon Chandler, and Marquise Hill that's so fast. It's really hard to have those little rollout plays that Washington has kind of gone to the well on so far tonight. Tough decision here. Kankakee's defense stepped up all night long. Could they make one stand to win the game and steal a big one on the road?
Here we go. Everybody buckle up. 91 seconds left, officially on the clock. 4th down and effectively the ball game. If it's turned over, Panthers don't have any timeouts, and the Kays will exit Washington with a Week 2 win. Dropping back to pass. Here's Humphrey slinging it over the middle. Intended target is
what
caught.
A catch!
It's Tyler Brown.
Wide open, too. That was the easiest looking pass of the game for the Panthers. What a call that Darryl Crouch pulled up in that timeout. That keeps it going. Again, Washington's got to go fast.
And that'll be DPI. The penalty will be declined. It was elsewhere on the play, but the Panthers on the move. Minute 25, and it's 1st down and 10. Everybody again, buckle up. Minute 25 again. 1st down and 10, and the Panthers' aerial attack has come up big twice this drive.
Got to go to it now. I mean, you can hope for a big play from McQuarrie, but that's far from a guarantee against a strong Kankakee front. Washington needs a touchdown, though. Field goal won't do you any good.
No timeouts left for the Panthers. Play action pass. Humphrey scrambling, trying to find room to operate. He will not get far. In fact, it's about a yard loss. Tick, 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 tick goes the clock. 60 seconds left in counting. It's 2nd down and call it maybe 9. Humphrey quickly under center will clock it. 51 and change left on the game clock.
Even though it'll be 3rd and 9, it's essentially 2nd and 9, obviously in 4-down territory. Good awareness there by Kenyon Chandler, the junior linebacker for Kankakee.
And so looks like some
stoppage.
Yeah, some discrepancy there, but it will. The Panthers were definitely set, so I don't know what the jawing was about, but it'll bring up a third down. Ignore what the down marker says. It's third down. There was a run and then a spike, so 2 plays have gone by. It's third down and 9. 51 seconds left on the game clock for Humphrey in this offense to find pay dirt. 4 wide receivers and everything to play for. Humphrey looking deep, got a man open, and it's incomplete. No penalty markers, and now it's 4th down.
Huge play in the secondary from Kankakee. Great deflection there. Looks like that was number 5. We don't have a number 5 on our roster given to us, but no matter who it is, that was an amazing play. Looking for Dre Lewis, I believe, down the field. 4th down again, so another 4th down in the ball game. What does Crouch dial up here? Doesn't have a timeout to work with, but the clock is stopped. Do they go to maybe their tall wideout, James Johnson? Maybe throw a jump ball up to the 6'4 sophomore.
We'll see what happens. Again, 4th down and 9. They're 2 for 2 on 4th downs on this drive, trying to go 3 for 3. Humphrey scans the field, goes outside. Definitely contact on the route. No flags will come out. It's a turnover on downs, and the Kays may have just won the ball game.
I think they did, Cody. They can just kneel it out at this point. Washington, you don't want to test that 4th down luck too much. Unfortunately, they had to waste that down the spike there with no timeouts left. But nice throw there from Humphrey. He's looking, I believe, for Cox at tight end, but that ball was never really catchable. And Kankakee's defense, I go back to that 3rd down stop, that batted ball in the secondary when he was looking deep downfield. And that's the play that probably won you the game for the Kays. The number 4 team in the state will probably be starting the season 2-0 unless something crazy happens.
Walters will come out in the best formation in football. It's the victory formation. He will take a knee, and his Kankakee Kays will exit Washington, Illinois 2-0 on the season. Jonathan, it was a fabulous contest. The Kays trailed for just 15 seconds and 1 official play.
And it wasn't even a play from scrimmage either. It was that kick return by Tony Phillips. Last week, you could argue he was the hero against Nazareth. He was undeniably the hero here tonight for the Kays. Their defense, though, also all chipped in. Stopped one of the best teams in Central Illinois and Washington. What a game we saw here tonight. It was so close for Washington. Unfortunately, they'll drop to 1-1 on the year, but really great fight shown by against a great Kankakee team. They still have not got that elusive win against the Kays, but this was by far the closest they've been. Still, it should be another great year for football in Washington. What a game we saw here tonight.
You hit it, John, and I couldn't have put a better bow on it myself. I want to thank everybody from our crew tonight and their. And we'll be right back after a short break. You're watching WMBD, powered by Clutch Sports Media.
Buy your car at every Uftring Auto Group dealer. It doesn't matter the year or the mileage. Used car values are still at record highs, and we'll pay more at all 8 Uftring locations. UftingAutoGroup.com.
Mushanti Heating and Cooling specializes in commercial and residential heating and cooling services. We're a Tempstar dealer, but service all makes and models with products that always provide you the best solutions.
Give your local experts a call at Mushanti Heating and Cooling.
The Fox has become known for some of the best British and American pub fare around. And for you craft beer lovers, we have 25 ever-changing draft handles. Whether it's lagers, IPAs, stouts, or ciders, the Fox has something for everyone. Join us at the Fox Pub in North Peoria.
You dream it, we'll deliver it at Academy of Screen Printing and Awards. Your promotional goods delivered on time, every time, with a local trusted team here for you.
Stop in and see us at Academy of Screen Printing and Awards.
We're back to put a bow on this one from Washington, Illinois. Again, the final between the Kankakee Kays and the home-sided Washington Panthers. 7-3, no offensive touchdown scored. It was a real, 2-minute segment where we had Panthers kick a field goal to go up 3-0, and immediately after the ensuing kickoff, it was all Phillips, 97 yards. And, John, this was a heck of a ball game.
Yeah, it certainly was, and neither team was out of it the entire game. It was, as you saw right there, if you watch the whole thing, the game was hanging in the balance until the very end. Could not have asked for a better, more close game. The Panthers came so close to some late heroics. Again, that fourth down pass, that completion to Tyler Brown was huge for Washington. They had some great defensive stops tonight. Their D-line played good. Their linebackers played good. And they didn't let Kankakee beat them over the top. So even though they don't come away with a win in the win column, which I'm sure all the Panthers wanted first and foremost, they still got to feel good that they stopped one of the best teams in the state in their tracks offensively, and Kankakee's got to feel good as well. These are two great teams that are looking for two great seasons, and Washington's got a great Mid-Illini schedule coming up. They'll start with Metamora and Pekin, two games that will test them. Should be a great year for the Panthers, but again, I think that their ground attack, they tried tonight, but ultimately it's Kankakee's defensive front seven that put the win in the win column for the Kays.
Absolutely, John. It was a fantastic showcase of old-fashioned throwback football tonight, but I want to give a quick shout-out to our other game going on at ClutchSportsIL.com. We've got a game brewing in Dunlap. The Rocks put a touchdown on the board, so it's 21-7 with just under 7 minutes to play. The Rocks looking at mount a bit of a comeback late in that contest, John. Of course, Gavin and company out at that one. That's another game that Washington fans will have their eyes on.
Yeah, certainly. Dunlap is probably at least one of the suitors for a Mid-Illini title this year. Dunlap is looking really good. Had a huge win over Galesburg back in week 1. Really impressive. Got those two young quarterbacks, Johnny Bargan and Max Sutter. Tons of great wideouts, real depth at running back as well. So great offensive team Dunlap is. Washington will play them in week 7. That could be a de facto Mid-Illini title game, but you also got Morton in the mix. They beat a very good Mahomet Seymour team. Metamora had a great win against Sterling last year, so the Mid-Illini is still very much up for grabs. We'll see if Dunlap can move to 2-0 before we move into non-conference play, but a great game over on ClutchSportsIL.com. Again, our Gavin Russell and Teddy Ball have the call for that one. You're certainly going to want to tune in there, but before you do, and before you put a bow on this one again, one thing I always want to plug real quick again, at CSM Overtime Flash Sale, your last reminder, it ends at midnight. Your last chance to get 50% off your first month of CSM Overtime. Get news, feature stories, daily roundups of all sports from around the area, stats as well, photo galleries, all sorts of football content, and more from all across the area. 30 area schools, about 7 different sports. All of it is under that CSM Overtime umbrella. And again, we're just getting started with that. We're going to have lots more to come as the season goes along. So definitely take advantage of that CSM Overtime Flash Sale.
The season is young, but it doesn't make nights like tonight any less exciting. We're going to put a bow on this one again. The final from Washington, 7-3 in favor of the visiting Kays. Again, I'm Cody Roskins for my partner Jonathan Michael and everybody at our fabulous crew here for Clutch Sports Media. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week.